My name is Louise, and I'm turning 34 this year. After college, I started working at a big company that most people know about. The pay was good, even for beginners, but it came with some downsides. I had to travel a lot for work and often worked extra hours and on holidays. It was tough, but I felt it was worth it. By the time I was 28, I got promoted to department head, which was unusual for a woman. 4 years ago, I married my boyfriend Brian. We had met through a friend. I wasn't really interested in dating, but my friend thought I should meet him. I wasn't eager to get married, thinking I could be happy single. Brian, on the other hand, wanted to get married and have kids soon. I wasn't ready for that and thought it was strange to get married when we didn't know each other well, especially since I was focusing on my career. When Brian brought up marriage, I would say we needed more time. He suggested we could marry after dating for 2 years, thinking that would give us enough time to get to know each other. Surprisingly, we did stay together for 2 years and then got married. During our relationship, Brian was loyal, not a gambler, and generally kind. He was hardworking, but his big ego sometimes bothered me. For example, he would complain at home if a senior at work gave him feedback, even though it was clear he had made mistakes. He didn't handle criticism well. When it came time for us to have dinner with both families, Brian chose an expensive restaurant that cost over $200 per person. He asked me to pay half of the total bill. I suggested a cheaper place, but Brian insisted that the expensive restaurant was important. He said if we went somewhere cheaper, it would make him look stingy. He couldn't afford to cover the whole bill, so he asked me to pay more than half, which I wasn't happy about. We had 4 people from each family, making a total of 8. Brian chose a restaurant that cost over $200 per person, even though he couldn't afford to cover his family's share. I wasn't thrilled about his choice and was even more confused when he told everyone at the dinner not to worry about the bill because he'd take care of it. Everyone seemed happy, so I decided to let him handle it, though I was unsure about it at the time. Looking back, I regret not reconsidering the marriage. After we got married, Brian's attitude changed. He started talking down to me and stopped helping with household chores, even though he had promised to. He began making excuses like, "What will the neighbors think if they see a man doing laundry? Chores are a woman's job." He insisted on relaxing at home while I did all the work. What really upset me was that Brian was constantly sending money to his parents. They were struggling with farming, and since they were nearing their 70s, it was getting harder for them to make a living. At first, I understood why he was helping them, but within 6 months of our marriage, it became a regular strain. Brian started giving all his salary to his parents and wouldn't contribute any money for our living expenses. I told him it was ridiculous to expect me to cover everything with my salary alone. He responded by saying, "How can you say that when my family is in trouble? They're your family too. Besides, you make more money than I do, so you should manage just fine." On the phone with his parents, Brian always said, "Don't worry, I'm taking care of everything with my salary. I won't let her complain about it." It seemed like he was sending just part of his salary, but in reality, he was giving all of it to his parents. He had no money left for himself and started asking me for pocket money, saying, "Can you give me about $200? I can't even afford lunch." I decided I couldn't keep living like this and suggested setting a monthly limit on how much we send to his parents. I told him he needed to figure out how to cover his lunch expenses on his own. Brian agreed, but he continued sending his entire salary to his parents. That was something I couldn't tolerate. One day, I had to be away for a business trip for about 2 weeks. Brian complained, "What am I going to eat while you're gone? And what about my laundry?" Despite knowing my job required frequent travel, I was frustrated by his childishness and told him to figure it out himself. I suggested he could go stay with his family if he needed help. Brian reluctantly agreed. When I returned home 2 weeks later, I found Brian's sister, Elizabeth, at our house. She lived a bit further away, and we hadn't seen each other since our wedding. I was curious about her presence. When I got home, Elizabeth greeted me with a big smile, saying, "Hi Louise, it's been a while." "Oh, and the money, you were a lifesaver. Thank you so much." She was so cheerful that I didn't even have time to unpack my luggage before asking her, "Money? What are you talking about?" Elizabeth replied without hesitation, "Brian said since you have some savings, he'd use them as startup capital for my business. He mentioned that you had at least $1 million saved up." Just then, Brian walked in, holding my passbook and seal. As soon as he saw me, he said, "Oh, welcome back. Perfect timing. I'm going to give your savings to Elizabeth. You know she's a nail artist and has always wanted her own shop. She's been saving up, but she's about $1 million short. I remember that you have exactly $1 million saved, so I told her she could have it. He handed the passbook and seal to Elizabeth, smiling, and said, "You're lucky, this will help make your dream come true, be grateful." I couldn't hold back my frustration any longer and snapped, "What are you talking about? That's my money, why are you making this decision on your own? I'd understand if you wanted to lend it, but then there should be a promissory note and a repayment plan, but just giving it away without asking me?" I took the passbook and seal back from Elizabeth. Brian looked at me and said, "We're family, aren't we? It's ridiculous to need a promissory note for family members. Besides, we're not lending it, we're giving it. You don't even have a hobby because you're always working. It's a waste to just keep the money. Elizabeth has a dream, don't you think it's more meaningful to use it to help her?" He glared at me as he finished speaking. I realized that Brian was someone I couldn't communicate with. Just as I was about to give up on the conversation, Brian said, "This money is too good for you. I'm giving it to Elizabeth because you'd only waste it. You can just work and save up again. If you want to keep arguing, we can get divorced." That gave me an idea. I quickly responded, "All right, let's get a divorce. I'll draft the divorce papers and send them to you. I'll come to pick up my things soon. Until the divorce is finalized, I'll stay at a hotel. Goodbye for now." With that, I grabbed my luggage from my business trip and left the house. Brian was shocked by my sudden decision, but he soon began sending multiple texts, saying things like, "You can still come back if you apologize now," and "Elizabeth says she'll forgive you if you give her the money. Stop being stubborn and come back." I ignored all his messages. The next day, I went to the city hall and mailed the signed divorce papers. Even then, Brian kept texting, asking if I was sure about this and telling me he was going to submit the papers. I simply replied, "Please submit them as soon as possible," and ignored the rest of his texts. The divorce was finalized sooner than I expected. A week later, while Brian was at work, I moved my things to my new place. When Brian texted me about submitting the divorce papers, he said, "I feel great being able to divorce an ugly woman like you. We are strangers now. Make sure you divide our property properly." I decided not to take most of the furniture and appliances. Instead, I deposited half of the small savings we had accumulated during our marriage into Brian's bank account and left it there. That night, I received numerous calls from Brian. At first, I ignored them, thinking it was just the beginning of his usual drama, but soon, Elizabeth also started calling me. Eventually, I answered the phone, and Brian immediately yelled, "What happened to dividing the property? This is ridiculous, there's only $800 in this account." I thought, just as I expected. I told him, "Look, I did divide the property. We originally had $1,600 in our joint account. I left you with half, so that's $800. All the furniture and appliances were bought after we got married, so I left them behind. That's a fair division, don't you think? I ended up with less than you." Brian wasn't convinced. He said, "What are you talking about? You should have had $1 million in savings, so half of that, $500,000, should be mine. And you got an inheritance from your grandpa, which should be half mine too." I was stunned and couldn't help but laugh. I had expected this. Otherwise, I don't think Brian would have agreed to the divorce so easily. I managed to stop laughing and explained, "Brian, property division is about marital assets. My savings from before we got married and my inheritance are not considered marital assets. I consulted a lawyer and divided our marital assets properly. The money we saved after marriage was all earned by me. Remember, you never contributed to our household expenses. Be grateful I even divided the savings." Brian insisted, "You're lying. There's no way that's true. Hand over the money properly, or I'll sue you." His voice was shaky with desperation. I calmly replied, "Go ahead, do what you need to do. If you want to pursue legal action, go ahead." I told Brian, "I haven't deceived you, and I divided the property fairly. I'm not afraid of being sued." Hearing this, Brian panicked and said, "Wait, let's forget about the divorce. I was wrong. Come back to me." He was backpedaling and asking for reconciliation. I replied, "What are you talking about? The divorce is finalized, and I have no intention of going back. This is not a joke. Since this is the end, let me tell you, if you plan to stay in the house, you need to pay the rent yourself. It's about $1,800 a month. You probably didn't know because you've never paid for it." Brian weakly responded, "There's no way I can afford that." I told him, "If you can't pay, then you need to leave. That's not my concern anymore." After that, It seems Brian went back to his parents' house because he couldn't afford the rent. To cover his moving expenses, he sold the furniture and appliances I had left behind. His parents, who thought he was making a decent amount of money, welcomed him warmly, expecting it would improve their situation. However, Brian couldn't give them as much money as he had when we were together, and he seemed uncomfortable living with them. Elizabeth, who had been preparing to start her own business with the money she expected from Brian, was forced to halt her plans when she didn't receive any of my savings. This setback caused her a lot of trouble, and Brian seemed to be having a hard time with her as well, but that was no longer my problem. I've been focusing on my work and enjoying living alone. I've had enough of marriage. Brian still sends messages saying he wants to get back together, but I completely ignore them. It's almost amusing to hear him update me on his situation from time to time, but I plan to block him soon.
The sound of sobbing echoed through my empty house, stopping me dead in my tracks. I'd been fumbling with my keys, exhausted from a late meeting, when those broken sounds pulled me toward the living room. There, curled up on my couch, was Carly, my son's fiancée, mascara streaking down her face like black rain. "I tried calling you," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Ryan won't listen to me. He won't listen to anyone anymore." I dropped my briefcase and sat beside her, my heart already racing. "What happened?" "Tom happened." She spat my ex-husband's name like poison. "He convinced Ryan to invest everything, our house deposit, our savings, everything, into his new tech startup." The room seemed to tilt sideways. 20 years of carefully maintaining distance from Tom's schemes, of protecting Ryan from his father's influence, all unraveled in an instant. "How much?" $240,000. Carly's hands trembled as she wiped her eyes. "Ryan says it's going to change our lives, that his father has inside connections, guaranteed returns." I knew those words. I'd heard them before, back when Tom had convinced my parents to invest in his foolproof real estate venture. They'd lost their retirement fund. Now here he was, 2 decades later, spinning the same web around our son. "When did this happen?" 3 days ago. I've been trying to talk sense into Ryan, but he keeps saying I don't understand business like his father does. Carly's voice hardened. "He's different now, Isla. It's like Tom's gotten inside his head." My phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. "Mom, don't listen to Carly if she comes to you. She's just scared of taking risks. Dad's company is going to be huge." I showed Carly the message. She laughed, but it was hollow. "Risks? We were supposed to get married in 4 months. Now he's gambling our future on Tom's promises. Tell me everything you know about this startup." As Carly detailed Tom's pitch, revolutionary AI technology, prominent investors, guaranteed IPO within 18 months, I recognized his trademark mix of vague promises and specific numbers. He'd always known exactly how to make fantasy sound like fact. "Has Ryan signed anything yet?" "The transfer's scheduled for tomorrow morning." Carly stood up, pacing now. "He won't even show me the paperwork. Says it's all confidential." My phone buzzed again. Tom this time. "Isla, stay out of this. Ryan's finally thinking like a businessman. Don't ruin this for him." The familiar rage rose in my chest, but I forced it down. Getting emotional was exactly what Tom wanted. He'd always used my anger to paint me as the irrational one, the obstacle to progress. "Carly, I need you to go home and act normal. Don't mention you were here. I'm going to make some calls." "What are you going to do?" I thought about Mason, my friend in securities regulation, about the files I'd kept from Tom's previous ventures, about all the people he'd burned over the years who might finally want to talk. I'm going to show Ryan who his father really is, but I need time to do it right. Carly gathered her things, hesitating at the door. "Ryan loves you, Isla, but right now he's looking at Tom like he's some kind of savior." "I know. That's exactly what Tom wants." I hugged her tightly. "Go home. Trust me." After she left, I sat in the darkness, Tom's text glowing accusingly on my screen. 20 years ago, I'd walked away from his schemes, protecting myself but leaving others vulnerable. I wouldn't make that mistake again. This time, I'd tear down his house of cards brick by brick, even if it meant risking my relationship with Ryan. I picked up my phone and dialed Mason's number. It rang twice before his gruff voice answered. Mason, remember that favor you owe me? I need everything you can find on a new tech startup, and I need it before tomorrow morning. Mason's research arrived at dawn. 3 pages of carefully documented red flags about Tom's startup. I hadn't slept, spending the night rehearsing what I'd say to Ryan. But when I pulled into the parking lot of Tom's gleaming office building, my carefully planned speech evaporated. Tom stood outside, arm around Ryan's shoulders, both of them laughing. The sight hit me like a physical blow. Ryan looked exactly like his father had 20 years ago. Same confident stance, same bright-eyed belief that the world was about to hand him everything he'd ever wanted. Mom? Ryan's smile faltered when he saw me. What are you doing here? We need to talk. I gripped Mason's papers in my coat pocket. All of us. Tom's charm switched on like a spotlight. Isla, always a pleasure. But Ryan and I have a meeting with investors in 10 minutes. Cancel it. I stepped closer, forcing Tom to look me in the eye. Unless you'd rather I share what I know about TechVision's funding sources with your investors directly? The mask slipped for just a second, a flash of something cold and calculating behind Tom's easy smile. Ryan, why don't you head upstairs? Your mother and I need to catch up. No. I kept my voice steady. Ryan stays. He needs to hear this. Hear what? Ryan moved closer to his father. Mom, if this is about Carly, it's about the shell companies. I pulled out Mason's papers. 3 of them, all registered in the Cayman Islands, all feeding money into TechVision through a series of fake investments. Want to explain that, Tom? Tom laughed, but I caught the tension in his shoulders. Business structures are complicated, Isla. Not everything is a conspiracy. The same business structures you used in 2008, when you convinced my parents to invest their retirement fund in your revolutionary real estate venture? Ryan's head snapped toward his father. What's she talking about? Ancient history. Tom waved his hand dismissively. Your mother never understood. They lost everything, I cut in. Just like the investors in your 2012 venture and your 2015 startup. Different names, same pattern. Create buzz, collect investments, then the company mysteriously fails while the money disappears offshore. Dad? Ryan's voice had lost its certainty. Is that true? Of course not. Your mother's always been jealous of my success. Tom's smile turned sharp. Remember who paid for your college, Ryan? Remember who's offering you a real future, not just small-town mediocrity. The money's gone, isn't it? I pressed. TechVision's AI technology doesn't exist. You're using Ryan's investment to pay off your last round of investors, aren't you? Tom's facade cracked. You don't know what you're talking about. I have proof. I held up the papers. Bank transfers, shell company registrations, everything. How many other young investors have you convinced to bet their futures on empty promises? Ryan grabbed the papers from my hand, scanning them quickly. His face went pale. These dates, these match when you first contacted me about investing. Son, listen. Don't call me that. Ryan's voice shook. Were you ever going to tell me? Or was I just another mark? Tom's charm vanished entirely. You ungrateful little... He caught himself, forcing a laugh. This is ridiculous. We have real investors waiting upstairs. Real opportunities. Your mother's trying to sabotage your future because she can't stand seeing you succeed where she failed. The transfer hasn't gone through yet, has it? I asked Ryan quietly. He shook his head, still staring at the papers. Then there's still time. I touched his arm gently. Come home. Talk to Carly. Make your own decisions, not his. Ryan. Tom's voice hardened. If you walk away now, don't expect any help from me ever again. No connections, no opportunities, nothing. Ryan looked between us, 22 years of manipulation and love warring on his face. Then he straightened his shoulders and handed the papers back to me. I don't want your help, he said to Tom. I don't want anything from you. He turned and walked away, leaving Tom and me alone in the morning sun. Tom's mask was gone completely now. replaced by something ugly and familiar. "You'll regret this," he said softly. "Both of you." I watched him stride into the building, already reaching for his phone. He'd find new investors, new victims, unless I stopped him. "No," I whispered to his retreating back. "This time, you'll regret it." I pulled out my phone and dialed Mason's number again. It was time for phase 2. Mason's office felt like a war room, scattered with documents and empty coffee cups. 3 days of digging had revealed the full scope of Tom's deception, each layer darker than the last. "Your ex-husband's been busy." Mason tapped his keyboard, bringing up another spreadsheet. "Tech Vision's just the tip of the iceberg. He's running at least 4 other schemes under different names." I leaned closer to the screen, my stomach churning. Those investment amounts, all from young professionals, mostly children of his old victims. Mason's voice hardened. "He's targeting them specifically, using their parents' financial struggles as motivation. Don't end up like them, that sort of pitch." My phone buzzed. Another message from Ryan. He'd been staying with Carly, trying to process everything. I opened it, then wished I hadn't. "Dad called. Says he can prove you're lying. Wants to meet." "Isla?" Mason touched my arm. "What is it?" Before I could answer, his office door burst open. Carly stood there, mascara streaked across her face. "Ryan's gone." "What do you mean, gone?" "He left this morning to meet Tom. Said he needed to hear both sides." She thrust her phone at me. Then I got this email. The screen showed a formal letter from Tech Vision's legal department threatening action against Ryan for corporate espionage. According to the document, he'd stolen proprietary information during his last visit to Tom's office. "It's complete bullshit," Mason said, reading over my shoulder. "But it'll tie him up in legal fees for years if Tom pursues it." "That's not all." Carly's voice cracked. "Tom's offering to drop everything if Ryan recommits to the investment. Double the amount this time." The room spun slightly. "Where are they meeting?" "The Marina Hotel, some kind of investor lunch." Carly grabbed my arm. "Isla, he's going to take the deal. He called it fixing things." I checked my watch. 40 minutes until noon. "Mason, send everything we have to your contact at the Securities Commission. Everything. That'll trigger an immediate investigation." He hesitated. "Tom will know it was you." "Good." I grabbed my coat. "Carly, come with me. Ryan needs to see who else Tom's hurt." The drive to the marina felt endless. Carly filled the silence with details. How Ryan had grown distant over the past few days, spending hours on the phone with Tom, coming home with wild dreams of tech empire success. We found them in the hotel's restaurant, Tom holding court at a table full of young faces. Ryan sat beside him, shoulders tight, staring at a stack of papers. "Just sign here, son." Tom's voice carried across the room. "Show everyone you're not afraid of real success." I scanned the other faces around the table. A young woman with her father's tired eyes, 2 brothers wearing identical expressions of desperate hope. All children of Tom's previous victims, all carrying their parents' broken dreams. "Ryan." My voice cut through the murmur of conversation. "Before you sign, there's something you need to see." Tom's charm never wavered. "Isla, this is a private business meeting." "Show them, Carly." She stepped forward, opening her laptop. On the screen, a video began playing. Tom's previous victims sharing their stories. The parents of everyone at that table describing how they'd lost everything. "Turn that off," Tom snapped, but the young woman was already standing. "Dad?" Her voice shook. "Is that why you couldn't afford my college?" The brothers exchanged glances. "Our parents' bankruptcy." Ryan stared at the screen, then at the papers in front of him. "You said they were just bitter about missing out. That they didn't have the vision to stay invested." "They didn't understand business," Tom started, but Ryan was already standing. "Like I don't understand?" He looked around the table. "Like none of us understand? How many times have you run this same con?" "Ryan, son, I saw the legal threats." Ryan's voice was ice. Trying to blackmail me into investing more? That's what a father does? The room erupted into chaos. Young investors demanding answers, Tom trying to maintain control, papers being snatched and scrutinized. Through it all, Ryan walked straight to Carly and held her tight. "I'm sorry," he whispered. I almost lost everything believing in him again. I watched Tom's carefully constructed world crumble, satisfaction warring with old grief. He caught my eye across the chaos and mouthed 2 words, "Watch out." But I wasn't afraid anymore. I had truth on my side, and a family worth fighting for. Whatever Tom was planning, I'd be ready. Mason's text confirmed it. Securities Commission moving in, hold tight. The real war was just beginning. The Securities Commission investigation hit a wall 3 days after the Marina Hotel confrontation. I sat in Mason's office, staring at an email that made my blood run cold. "All the evidence is gone." Mason's voice was tight with frustration. Every document, every transfer record, everything we sent them disappeared from their servers overnight. That's impossible. I scrolled through the email again. Unless someone very powerful made it possible. Mason leaned back, rubbing his temples. Tom has friends in high places, Isla. Friends who owe him favors. My phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. "Back off while you still can. T." The office door opened and Ryan burst in, his face ashen. "Mom, they're freezing my accounts. All of them. The bank says it's part of a fraud investigation. Against me." I felt the trap closing. Tom hadn't just been threatening legal action. He'd been laying groundwork. What exactly did they say? That I'm under investigation for attempting to defraud Tech Vision investors. Ryan's hands shook as he pulled out a formal notice. "They're saying I tried to sabotage the company to manipulate stock prices. There's evidence, Mom. Evidence I've never seen before." Mason grabbed the notice, scanning it quickly. "This is sophisticated. Forged emails, backdated documents. He's trying to make Ryan the scapegoat for everything." My phone buzzed again. Tom this time, not hiding behind unknown numbers. "Let's talk. Just us. Or Ryan loses more than his money." "Don't." Ryan grabbed my arm. "He's trying to separate us, divide and conquer like always." But I was already reaching for my coat. "Mason, start calling in favors. Anyone who might have dirt on Tom's real operations. Ryan, go home to Carly. Don't talk to anyone about this." "Mom, trust me." I squeezed his hand. "I won't let him win. Not this time." The drive to Tom's office felt like entering enemy territory. Security waved me through. They were expecting me. Tom stood at his window, backlit by the setting sun, looking every inch the successful businessman he pretended to be. "You should see your face right now." He didn't turn around. "Same expression you had when you first figured out what I really am. Remember that day?" "I remember everything." I stayed by the door. "What do you want?" "Want? I want you to understand consequences." Now he turned, smile sharp as broken glass. "Actions have ripples, Isla. Your little crusade? It's not just hurting me anymore." He tossed a file onto his desk. Inside were photos. Ryan at college, at parties, at work. Documents showing transactions I knew he'd never made. Emails he'd never written. "Stop this." My voice didn't shake. I wouldn't give him that satisfaction. "I will. When you publicly retract everything. Tell the Securities Commission you made it all up out of spite. Watch me succeed while you and Ryan go back to your small, safe lives. Or Ryan goes to prison for fraud. His future, his reputation, everything, gone." Tom's smile widened. "Choose, Isla. Your revenge or your son's life." My phone vibrated. A message from Mason. "Don't give in. Found something big. Need 24 hours." Tom watched me, confident in his victory. He'd always been good at forcing impossible choices, backing people into corners until they broke. "You're right," I said quietly. "Actions have ripples." His smile faltered slightly. "So you'll do it?" I walked to his desk, picked up the file of fabricated evidence. You know what I remembered today? That safe in your old office, the one you thought I never found. The smile vanished completely. What? 20 years of secrets, Tom. 20 years of real evidence I kept, just in case. A complete lie, but I saw the flash of fear in his eyes. Want to talk about ripples? You're bluffing. Maybe. I turned toward the door. You have 24 hours to clear Ryan's name and drop everything, or we'll see whose evidence is more convincing. You wouldn't dare. Watch me. I walked out, heart pounding, praying Mason's lead was as big as he promised. Because I just started a countdown I couldn't stop, and Tom wasn't a man who handled desperation well. The game had changed. Now we were both playing for keeps. Mason's something big arrived at midnight. A trembling woman named Sarah standing in my kitchen, clutching a laptop to her chest. She was Tom's accountant, Mason explained quietly. Until 3 days ago. Sarah's fingers shook as she opened files. He doesn't know I kept copies. He thinks everything's gone, like with the Securities Commission, but She stopped, swallowing hard. I couldn't sleep after what he did to those families. The screen filled with spreadsheets, bank transfers, emails. A complete record of Tom's schemes going back 5 years. But something else caught my eye. Recent transfers to offshore accounts, all made within hours of our confrontation. He's preparing to run, Mason said, studying the data. These amounts, he's liquidating everything. My phone lit up. Carly calling at midnight never meant good news. Ryan's gone, she blurted before I could speak. He got a call from Tom an hour ago, said he was going to fix everything himself. The kitchen tilted sideways. Fix it how? I don't know, but he took all his documents about Tech Vision. Said something about making things right. Sarah's head snapped up. Tonight's the private investor meeting, top floor of the Tech Vision building. Mr. Wallace said no one could disturb him. Because he's closing deals before he disappears. I grabbed my keys. Mason, get that evidence to everyone. Media, authorities, everyone. Sarah, you're staying here where it's safe. Isla, wait. Mason caught my arm. Tom's desperate. If Ryan threatens his escape plan, then I need to move faster. The night air hit like a slap as I drove. Ryan wasn't answering his phone. Neither was Tom. The Tech Vision building loomed ahead, most windows dark except the top floor. Security tried to stop me. I showed them an old keycard from when Tom and I were married, praying it still worked. It did. He'd never bothered to remove my access. Arrogance or oversight, it didn't matter now. The elevator felt endless. I could hear raised voices through the penthouse door. Ryan's anger, Tom's smooth reassurances. Other voices I didn't recognize. You're lying. Ryan's shout cut through clearly. I saw the transfer records. You're stealing everything. Son, you're confused. Don't call me that. You were going to let me take the fall while you ran away. I pushed through the door. Ryan stood facing Tom across a conference table, investors shrinking back against the walls. Father and son, mirror images of fury and betrayal. Security will handle this, Tom said smoothly, reaching for his phone. They're busy, I replied, dealing with federal agents in the lobby. Tom's mask slipped. You're bluffing. Check your accounts, Tom. Check the news. Sarah says hello. His fingers flew across his phone. I watched the color drain from his face as headlines appeared. Tech Vision fraud exposed, CEO under investigation, whistleblower reveals years of deception. You can't prove. He stopped as Ryan dropped a stack of papers on the table. My copies of everything, Ryan said quietly. The real documents, not your forgeries. The ones that show I was just another victim, not your accomplice. The investors were already moving, gathering their things, murmuring about lawyers. Tom's carefully constructed world crumbled in real time. This isn't over. He straightened his tie, that old, familiar gesture of control. You have no idea what I'm still capable of. Neither do you. I stepped between him and Ryan. but you're about to find out what I'm capable of. 20 years of watching, learning, waiting. Did you really think I didn't have a plan? Mom. Ryan's hand touched my shoulder. Let's go. Let him face what's coming alone. We turned to leave, but Tom's voice stopped us. I'll destroy you both. Everything you have, everything you are. No. I didn't turn around. You won't, because you don't exist anymore. Check your accounts again. The roar of rage behind us, the sound of something expensive shattering, followed us to the elevator. Ryan's hands were shaking. Did you really? Mason's friend in cybersecurity did. Every account, every hidden fund, gone. The elevator descended into uncertainty, but for the first time in weeks, I felt steady. The war wasn't over. Tom wouldn't go quietly, but tonight's battle was ours. Mom? Ryan's voice was small. I'm sorry I didn't believe you sooner. I squeezed his hand as Sarah's evidence lit up phones across the city, burning Tom's empire to ash. The call came at 3 a.m, Mason's voice tight with urgency. Sarah's gone. Her apartment's been ransacked. I sat up in bed, already reaching for clothes. Police? On their way, but... He paused. There's something else. All her copies of the evidence are corrupted. Every file, every backup. The floor seemed to tilt beneath my feet. That's not possible. We had everything secured. Tom had a fail-safe. Some kind of delayed virus. It's hitting everywhere. News outlets, federal servers, everything we sent out. It's all turning to gibberish. My phone buzzed with a text. Did you really think I wouldn't be prepared? T. I drove through empty streets to Mason's office where Ryan and Carly were already waiting. The scene was chaos. Computers running diagnostics, phones ringing, Mason's team trying desperately to salvage what remained of Sarah's evidence. The virus is sophisticated, one tech explained. It's not just corrupting files, it's replacing them with false data. Data that makes everything look legitimate. What about the hard copies? Ryan asked. The papers I gave the investors? Mason shook his head. Already getting calls. Documents apparently showing those were forgeries. Tom's covering every angle. My phone lit up again. An email from Tom's lawyer. As I read, my hands started to shake. Mom? Ryan moved closer. What is it? He's suing us. All of us. Defamation, corporate espionage, criminal conspiracy. I looked up at Mason. The evidence he's presenting. It makes us look like we planned this whole thing. Like we're the ones running a con. That's insane, Carly protested. No one will believe. They already are. Mason turned his laptop, showing news headlines. Tech Vision CEO claims conspiracy. Evidence of corporate sabotage emerges. Whistleblower credibility questioned. Where's Sarah? Ryan's voice cracked. She can still testify. If we can find her. Mason rubbed his temples. And if Tom hasn't already gotten to her. My phone buzzed again. Tom's number this time. Against every instinct, I answered. Ready to end this? His voice was smooth, victorious. One public statement from you, admitting you fabricated everything out of spite, and this all goes away. Ryan keeps his freedom, your friend Mason keeps his license, and poor Sarah, well, let's say she'll be able to come home. You son of a... Careful, Isla. Everything you say is being recorded. For legal purposes, of course. He chuckled. You have 1 hour to decide. Tick-tock. The line went dead. I looked around the office, at Ryan's pale face, at Carly's tears, at Mason's defeated slump. He's won, Ryan whispered. Hasn't he? Before I could answer, Mason's computer chimed. A video call from an unknown number. When he answered, Sarah's face appeared, bruised but alive. I'm safe, she said quickly. But they're coming. Tom's people found my real backup, the one I never told anyone about. They're heading to the old records facility now. What backup? Mason leaned forward. Paper trails, years of them, in a storage unit under my grandmother's name. Everything printed, dated, notarized. She glanced over her shoulder. But they know. They'll destroy it all. The address appeared in chat. Across town, in the industrial district. Tom's people would be closer. Mom, no. Ryan grabbed my arm as I reached for my keys. It's too dangerous. He's desperate now. Exactly. I pulled free. Desperate means sloppy. Desperate means mistakes. Then I'm coming with you. No. I faced him fully. If this goes wrong, I need you clean. Someone has to be left to tell the truth. Mason stepped forward. Isla. Keep them safe. I was already moving. And be ready. Whatever happens, be ready. The night air hit like ice as I ran to my car. Another text from Tom lit up my phone. Wrong choice, as usual. But for the first time since this started, I smiled. Because Tom had forgotten something crucial about desperate people. They weren't the only ones who could make mistakes. I pressed the accelerator, racing toward either salvation or destruction, knowing that whatever waited at that storage facility would change everything. One way or another, this ended tonight. The storage facility loomed ahead, a maze of identical metal doors under flickering fluorescent lights. 2 black SUVs were already parked outside. Tom's people had beaten me here. But they hadn't found what they were looking for yet, or they'd be gone. Unit 247. Sarah's grandmother's unit. I crept through the corridors, following the numbered sequence until voices echoed ahead. It has to be here somewhere. Tom's voice, tight with frustration. Tear everything apart if you have to. I pressed against the wall, peering around the corner. Tom stood with 3 men in suits, surrounded by opened boxes and scattered papers. But they were at Unit 247B. Sarah, clever Sarah, had given them the wrong unit. Sir? One suit held up his phone. Security cameras show movement in Section C. Find whoever it is. Tom kicked a box aside. This whole place gets burned if we have to. I waited until 2 suits disappeared around the corner, then moved. Unit 247 was 3 doors down from Tom. The key Sarah had texted worked silently. Inside, stacked bankers' boxes filled the small space, each labeled meticulously. Tech Vision Fraud, 2019-2024. Offshore accounts, investor lists. 20 years of Tom's crimes preserved in paper and ink. Looking for something? I spun. Tom stood in the doorway, his last suit behind him. It's over, Tom. Nothing's over until I say it is. He stepped inside, eyes scanning the labels. All these years you were collecting evidence? Planning your revenge? No. I moved between him and the boxes. Sarah collected these. I just helped her find the courage to use them. Sarah. He laughed bitterly. The quiet little accountant. Should have known. He nodded to his suit. Burn it. The man reached into his jacket. I grabbed the nearest box and hurled it, scattering papers between them and me. Tom lunged forward, but I was already moving, slamming into him with 20 years of pent-up rage. We crashed into the hallway. The suit's lighter fluid splashed across the floor, igniting instantly. Smoke filled the narrow space. You never understood, did you? Tom grabbed my throat, pinning me against the wall. Power isn't about right or wrong. It's about who's willing to do whatever it takes. No. Another voice cut through the smoke. It's about truth. Ryan stood at the corridor's end, phone raised, live streaming everything. Behind him, Mason and 2 federal agents advanced with weapons drawn. Federal agents. Hands up. Tom's grip loosened. For the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. It's not just Sarah's evidence anymore. Ryan's voice shook with fury. Everyone's watching. Everyone's seeing who you really are. The suit surrendered immediately, but Tom backed away toward the growing flames. You think this changes anything? His calm mask cracked, revealing something desperate beneath. I'll start over. I always do. And you'll spend years trying to prove everything while you what? Mason stepped forward, badge raised. Run? Hide? The livestream has 50,000 viewers already. Every exit's covered. It's done. Tom looked at Ryan, one last attempt at manipulation. Son, I'm not your son. Ryan's phone stayed steady. I'm her son, and you're nothing but a fraud. The federal agents moved in. Tom's shoulders slumped as the handcuffs clicked shut. The fire department sirens wailed in the distance. The boxes? I coughed through the smoke. Saved most of them. Mason helped me up. Sarah's already at the federal building, giving her statement. You were right. Desperate people make mistakes. I watched them lead Tom away, his expensive suit covered in ash, his empire crumbling in real time as Ryan's live stream captured everything. Mom? Ryan lowered his phone finally. Are you okay? I touched my bruised throat, feeling the weight of 2 decades lifting. I am now. Outside, reporters were already gathering. Tom's carefully constructed facade of success would be tomorrow's cautionary tale. But more importantly, his power to hurt people was finally, permanently broken. Ready to tell your story? Mason asked quietly. I looked at Ryan, who nodded encouragement. Yes, I said. I think it's time everyone heard the truth. The truth about power, about justice, about the quiet strength it takes to stand against someone who would sacrifice anything or anyone to win. The truth about how sometimes the greatest victory isn't in destroying your enemy, but in simply surviving long enough to expose them to the light. The courthouse steps felt different in the morning sun. No reporters remained, no cameras tracked our movements. Just the quiet aftermath of justice, settling like dust after a storm, guilty on all counts. Mason folded the morning paper. Tom's face splashed across the front page. Maximum sentences. The judge made an example of him. I watched Ryan and Carly across the plaza, heads bent together over coffee cups, planning their rescheduled wedding. The simple sight of them, free from Tom's shadow, felt like victory enough. Sarah called. Mason continued. The Victim Restitution Fund is already over $8 million. More coming in daily as other schemes surface. And the others? I asked quietly. Tom's network is falling apart. His connections are scrambling to save themselves, turning on each other. 20 years of carefully built influence gone in weeks. A familiar car pulled up to the curb. Tom's mother emerged, clutching an envelope. She'd sat behind him every day of the trial, watching her son's carefully constructed facade crumble under the weight of evidence. Isla. She approached slowly, uncertain. This was in his things. He wanted Ryan to have it. Ryan noticed her presence, tensing slightly. I took the envelope. I'll make sure he gets it. She nodded, aged beyond her years. Tell him. Tell him I'm sorry for everything we enabled. After she left, I opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper, Tom's confession, written the night before sentencing. Not the legal one his lawyers had arranged, but a real one. Raw, honest. Mom? Ryan appeared at my shoulder. What is it? I handed him the letter. He read it slowly, Carly's hand steady on his arm. He actually admitted it. Ryan whispered. Everything. The manipulation, the lies, using me to get to other investors' children. People can surprise you, I said. Even at the end. Should I visit him? That's your choice, no one else's. Ryan folded the letter carefully. Maybe someday. When I'm ready. When it's about healing, not anger. Carly squeezed his hand. Whatever you decide, we'll face it together. Mason's phone buzzed. He read the message, eyebrows rising. The investment firm that bought TechVision's assets? They want to meet with Ryan. Something about his original software designs actually having potential. Really? Carly brightened. They said someone vouched for his integrity. Someone who lost everything to Tom years ago, but recognized genuine talent when they saw Ryan's work. I watched understanding dawn on Ryan's face. Sometimes karma worked in unexpected ways, turning old wounds into new beginnings. What do you think? He asked me. I think you should trust yourself. You know the difference now, between real opportunity and empty promises. He hugged me suddenly, fierce and protective. I learned from the best. The morning breeze carried away the last whispers of Tom's influence. Not through revenge or destruction, but through truth. Through the quiet strength of standing firm, protecting what mattered, letting justice find its own path. Mason touched my arm. The Securities Commission wants to consult with you about helping other families spot investment fraud before it's too late. Using the past to protect the future? I smiled slightly. I'd like that. Ryan and Carly walked ahead, discussing wedding plans again. Mason followed, already making calls. I lingered a moment, watching my family, the one I'd fought for, the one I'd chosen, move forward into the light. The courthouse doors opened behind me. More families emerged, carrying their own stories of justice and healing. Some nodded to me in recognition, sharing the weight of similar battles won. I descended the steps slowly, leaving behind the echoes of old pain and fresh victory. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new choices, but we'd face them together, stronger for having weathered this storm. The morning sun caught my wedding ring. Not Tom's, but the one I'd bought myself after the divorce, a promise of independence. It sparked briefly, like justice finally served, like truth finally spoken, like love finally freed from the shadows of deception. I joined my family, ready for whatever came next. Because some victories aren't about winning or losing, but about finding the courage to stand up, speak out, and protect what matters most, no matter the cost.
The silver happy birthday banner droops pathetically over the dining room entrance, forgotten and askew like everything else about my 24th birthday. Inside, champagne glasses clink as my family celebrates Emma's latest triumph, a promotion to senior marketing director that apparently matters more than my existence. I'm Jade, the Thompson family's perpetual afterthought. To Emma, Mother raises her glass, her pearl necklace catching the chandelier light. We always knew you were destined for greatness, sweetheart. I stand in the corner, clutching my untouched champagne, watching the familiar scene unfold. Emma basks in the attention, her perfectly manicured hand resting on her husband Ryan's shoulder while their kids, Lucas and Mason, chase each other around the dining table. Such an achievement at 31, Father beams, his pride practically radiating. The youngest senior director in the company's history. The irony of celebrating Emma's success on my birthday isn't lost on me. But then again, nothing about this family ever is. I take a sip of champagne, letting the bitter bubbles match my mood. We should discuss the house renovation now, Emma announces, her voice carrying that entitled tone I've grown to despise. Ryan and I found the perfect contractor. Mother clasps her hands together. Oh, wonderful. Mark, we should help them with the down payment. I nearly choke on my drink. Last month, when I asked for help with my student loan payments, they claimed finances were tight. Funny how money materializes when Emma needs it. Actually, I clear my throat. I was hoping we could discuss. Not now, Jade. Mother cuts me off with a dismissive wave. Emma's showing us the renovation plans. I slip away to the kitchen, needing space to breathe. Through the door, I hear them continuing their discussion about Emma's perfect life. Perfect children, perfect everything. The sound of their voices draws me toward the study, where I overhear Father speaking in hushed tones. Lisa, we can't keep doing this. The investments for Emma's house, the private school for the boys, it's stretching us thin. Mark, she needs our support. She's building a life for our grandchildren. But what about... Shh! Someone might hear. I step back, my hand trembling as I set down my glass. The familiar ache in my chest transforms into something darker, heavier. Years of being overlooked, dismissed, and pushed aside crystallize into a single, clarifying moment. My phone buzzes. A text from Nina, my best friend. Happy birthday! Dinner tonight? Before I can reply, Emma's voice rings out. Jade, where are you? We need help with the cake. Of course they do. They always need something from me, but never for me. I watch through the kitchen window as a bird slams into the glass, stunning itself before flying away. Something about its desperate escape attempt resonates deep within me. Coming, I call back, but I remain rooted in place, my mind racing with possibilities. The bird recovers, shakes itself off, and takes flight again, this time with purpose, with direction. I pick up my phone and text Nina back. Yes, we need to talk. I'm done being the family doormat. The sounds of laughter and celebration continue in the dining room, but something has shifted inside me. They don't realize it yet, but this birthday marks more than just another year of my existence. It marks the day I stopped accepting my role as the forgotten Thompson. As I push through the kitchen door, plastering on my usual compliant smile, I'm already plotting. Emma's perfect life is built on cards, and I've just decided to become the wind that brings it all down. Let them eat cake. Soon enough, they'll be choking on it. Nina's apartment feels like sanctuary after the disaster of my birthday dinner. The city lights twinkle beyond her balcony as I cradle a glass of wine, recounting the evening's events. She listens, dark eyes narrowing at each fresh detail. And now this. I slide my phone across the coffee table, showing her the family group chat message that arrived 10 minutes ago. Emma's text glows on the screen. Everyone, Ryan and I have the most wonderful news. Family brunch tomorrow at 11. Don't be late, this is huge. Another performance in the Emma show, Nina mutters, refilling our glasses. You don't have to go. I do, actually, because missing it means 3 weeks of guilt-tripping texts from Mother. The next morning, I arrive at my parents' house exactly 2 minutes late. Emma's already holding court in the living room, Ryan hovering beside her with that anxious look he's been wearing lately. There you are, Emma beams, but her eyes are sharp. We were about to start without you. Mother fusses with the coffee service. Jade, fix your hair. It looks messy. I ignore her, taking a seat as far from Emma as possible. Lucas and Mason tear through the room, screaming at full volume, while Father half-heartedly tells them to settle down. So, Emma stands, commanding attention like she's at a board meeting. As you know, I've been thinking about my priorities lately. After much consideration, I've decided to leave my position at the firm. The coffee cup nearly slips from Mother's hands. But darling, your promotion is wonderful, yes, but there's something even more wonderful. Emma's hand drifts to her stomach. We're expecting again. I want to be a full-time mother to all my children. The room erupts in squeals and congratulations. I watch Ryan's face carefully. There's something tight around his eyes that doesn't match his smile. Of course, we'll need help with the transition, Emma continues. The renovation costs are higher than expected, and with the new baby... Whatever you need, sweetheart, Father says immediately, though I notice his hand tightening on his armrest. I can't help myself. Interesting timing, giving up your salary right after the promotion bonus cleared. The room goes silent. Emma's smile doesn't waver, but her eyes turn to ice. Some of us prioritize family over money, Jade. That's enough, Mother snaps. Jade, why must you always spoil things? I stand up, my coffee untouched. Right, because questioning St. Emma's latest scheme is spoiling things. Never mind that my student loan payment bounced last week because the help you promised never came. Your sister has children to think about, Father says, but he won't meet my eyes. And I'm what? The family ATM? The built-in babysitter? The invisible daughter who exists to prop up Emma's perfect life? Emma steps forward, voice dripping with concern. Oh, Jade, is this about your birthday? I'm so sorry if you felt overlooked. Maybe if you had achieved something worth celebrating. The words hit like a slap. I grab my bag, heading for the door, but Emma's next words freeze me in place. Actually, since you brought up money, Ryan and I could use your help with Lucas and Mason this summer. 3 days a week? We can't afford a nanny with the renovation costs, and you're between real jobs anyway. I turn slowly, taking in the scene. My parents nodding approvingly, Ryan studying the floor, Emma's perfectly practiced expression of sisterly affection. Between real jobs, I repeat. You mean my freelance writing doesn't count as real work? Well, Emma shrugs. It's not exactly stable, is it? This would give you something meaningful to do. I look at each of them, my father avoiding conflict as usual, my mother already planning Emma's baby shower in her head, Ryan's strange nervousness, and Emma's absolute certainty that I'll cave like I always do. No, I say quietly. What? I said no. Find someone else to exploit. As I walk out, I hear Mother calling after me, but I don't stop. In my car, my phone lights up with messages, mostly variations of "How dare you" and "Your sister needs you." But there's also a text from Ryan. We need to talk, privately. I start the engine, a plan forming in my mind. Emma's perfect life is built on secrets, and I'm betting Ryan knows exactly where the cracks are. Time to start pushing. The coffee shop Ryan chose sits in a forgotten strip mall on the edge of town. Perfect for secrets. He's already there when I arrive, hunched over his phone like it might save him. Thanks for meeting me, he says, not quite meeting my eyes. His wedding ring taps a nervous rhythm against his cup. You said it was important. He glances around before sliding a folder across the table. Emma doesn't know I'm here. If she finds out, inside are bank statements, investment reports, and loan documents. My hands start shaking as I read. The numbers don't make sense. Hundreds of thousands missing, high-risk investments, massive withdrawals. She's been using father's power of attorney, I say, the pieces clicking together. The renovation money? Isn't for renovations, Ryan's voice cracks. She's trying to cover my mistakes. I got in deep with some people, gambling. A bitter laugh escapes me. And naturally, Emma's solution was to steal from our parents. Your father's retirement fund is almost gone. His words hit like bullets. The house equity, too. She keeps saying she can fix it, that one big investment will turn everything around. My phone buzzes. Mother, probably with another guilt trip about the brunch disaster. I silence it. Why tell me this? Ryan runs a hand through his hair. Because she's pregnant again and I can't. The people I owe, they're not patient. She thinks throwing more money at it will help. But it's making everything worse. How convenient that she's quitting her job now. No paper trail linking her to the investments when it all falls apart. Jade, please, I know we've treated you. Save it. I gather the documents, my mind racing. Does anyone else know? No, Emma's too proud, and your parents trust her completely. I stand, tucking the folder into my bag. I'll need copies of everything. What are you going to do? The fear in his voice should make me feel something. Pity, maybe, or sympathy. Instead, I feel nothing but cold clarity. That depends on Emma. Later that night, I find her waiting outside my apartment. She's wearing her power suit, her armor for difficult conversations. We need to talk about your attitude, she says, pushing past me into the living room. Mother's upset, father's disappointed. How's the investment portfolio? I interrupt. She freezes for a fraction of a second, so brief anyone else would miss it. But I'm watching for it. I don't know what you mean. Really? Because I have some fascinating documents that suggest otherwise. Father's retirement fund? The house equity? Ring any bells? Her mask slips, revealing something ugly underneath. Ryan told you. He showed me everything. Though I have to admire your efficiency. Stealing from our parents while convincing them to fund your escape plan. That's impressive, even for you. You don't understand? Oh, I understand perfectly. Ryan gambles, you steal, and everyone else pays the price. Tale as old as time. She steps closer, voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. If you breathe a word of this to anyone, I'll destroy you. Everything you're trying to build with your little writing career, gone. Who do you think they'll believe? Perfect Emma or bitter, jealous Jade? You really don't get it, do you? I pull out my phone, showing her the email I'd drafted earlier. To the Financial Crimes Division regarding suspicious activity. One click, Emma. That's all it takes. The color drains from her face. You wouldn't. Try me. I'm done being your safety net. I'm pregnant, she says, like it's a shield. Think about your nephews, your family. You should have thought about them before you stole their future. She grabs her purse, hands shaking. At the door, she turns back. This isn't over. No, I agree, feeling strangely calm. It's just beginning. After she leaves, I pour a glass of wine and open my laptop. The email to the Financial Crimes Division stares back at me, cursor blinking on the send button. Not yet. Emma's right about one thing. This isn't over. I have years of invisible wounds to repay, and I want her to feel every single one. I close the laptop and smile. Let her sweat, wondering when the axe will fall. Sometimes revenge is sweeter when served in small, excruciating portions. The anonymous email takes 3 minutes to compose and 10 seconds to send. By morning, Whispers about financial irregularities at Emma's firm have already started circulating. Just a hint. A carefully worded suggestion about improper use of client funds during her tenure. Nothing direct, nothing traceable. I watched the chaos unfold from my laptop screen, tracking the internal memo leaks and worried social media posts from her former colleagues. Emma's phone calls go straight to my voicemail. Nina sets a fresh coffee in front of me. You sure about this? She did it to herself. I close the laptop. I'm just spreading the truth. My phone buzzes. Father. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Have you seen the news? His voice sounds older, strained. They're auditing Emma's department. All her accounts are frozen. That must be stressful. Jade, please. Your mother's beside herself. Emma needs... What about what I need? The words escape before I can stop them. Did anyone care when I lost my apartment deposit because the loan you promised never came? Silence stretches between us. Then, we should discuss this in person. Family dinner tonight. I'm busy. This isn't a request. The line goes dead. I stare at the phone, something cold settling in my stomach. Nina touches my arm. You don't have to go. Yes, I do. I stand, gathering my things. Time to watch the show. The family home looks different now, knowing what I know. Each carefully maintained flower bed, every piece of expensive furniture, all of it built on lies and theft. Emma's car is already in the driveway. Inside, voices carry from the dining room. They can't prove anything, Emma's saying as I enter. She stops mid-sentence, her face hardening. You? Mother rushes to smooth things over. Girls, please, let's just have a nice dinner. Did you send that email? Emma demands, rising from her chair. Are you trying to destroy everything I've built? Everything you've stolen, you mean. Father slams his hand on the table. Enough. Both of you sit down. I remain standing. Why? So we can pretend everything's fine while Emma bleeds you dry? What are you talking about? Mother's voice wavers. Emma laughs, but there's panic in her eyes. She's jealous, Mother. She's always been jealous. Show them the documents, I tell her. Show them what you did with Father's power of attorney. The color drains from Father's face. Emma? I had no choice. She's crying now, perfectly timed tears. Ryan's gambling debts. I was trying to protect the family. By stealing their retirement, I pull out copies of the documents Ryan gave me. By emptying their accounts for your investments. Mother takes the papers with trembling hands. Mark, these numbers. Our savings. I can fix it, Emma insists. I just need time. Time for what? I cut in. To steal more? To run? Or maybe to have another baby and use that as a shield? You bitter little... Emma lunges forward, but Ryan catches her arm. Emma, don't. His voice is quiet. It's over. She whirls on him. You told her? You betrayed me? The room descends into chaos. Mother sobbing, Father demanding explanations, Emma and Ryan arguing. I stand in the middle of it all, watching years of perfect family facade crumble. My phone buzzes again. A text from an unknown number. Interesting timing on that tip about Emma. Want to know what else she's been hiding? I slip out while they're still arguing, the text burning in my pocket like a live coal. The satisfaction I expected feels hollow, replaced by something darker. This isn't just about Emma anymore. Whatever she's involved in, it's bigger than family theft. Outside, the summer air feels thick with possibility. I could stop now, let the audit and family drama take its course. Or I could follow this new thread, see just how deep Emma's deceptions go. I text back one word. Everything. The reply comes instantly. Tomorrow, noon, Central Park bench by the lake. Come alone. I start my car, Emma's screams still echoing from the house. The game has changed. This isn't just revenge anymore. It's excavation, and I'm going to dig until there's nothing left to find. The park bench feels exposed, vulnerable. I check my phone, 11:58. A man in a charcoal suit approaches, his movements precise, deliberate. He sits without looking at me. Miss Thompson, your sister's quite the entrepreneur. Who are you? Someone who's been watching Emma's creative accounting for months. He slides a USB drive between us. Your parents aren't her only victims. I pocket the drive. What do you want? Consider it a mutual interest in justice. Emma's been laundering money through her investment schemes. Your family's savings were just convenient cover. My hands clench. Of course, the perfect daughter's perfect life built on perfect lies. How much? Millions, and not just local money. He stands. Check the drive, but be careful who you tell. Some of her investors aren't as civilized as I am. He disappears into the crowd, leaving me with the weight of his words. At home, the drive reveals a labyrinth of shell companies, offshore accounts, and familiar names, including Ryan's gambling debts to people who don't forgive. My phone rings. Mother. Your father's in the hospital. Her voice breaks. Heart attack, the stress of everything. The drive burns in my laptop like a loaded gun. I'll be there. The hospital corridor stretches endlessly. Emma's there, of course, playing the devoted daughter. Her mascara-stained tears look rehearsed. How dare you show up, she hisses when she spots me. He's my father, too. Not after what you've done. She grabs my arm, pulling me aside. The audit team found irregularities. They're expanding the investigation. Good. You don't understand. There are people involved. Dangerous people. If they think I'm cooperating with authorities, maybe you should have thought about that before involving our family in your criminal enterprise. Her fingers dig deeper. I did it for us. For the family. No. I wrench free. You did it for yourself. Like always. Mother emerges from father's room, eyes red. He's asking for both of you. Father looks small in the hospital bed, monitors beeping steadily. My girls, he whispers. Please, stop this fighting. Emma starts her performance immediately. Daddy, I'm so sorry. I was just trying to... Enough. His voice is weak but firm. The truth. Now. I pull out my phone, showing him the files from the drive. It wasn't just our money, Father. Emma's been laundering funds for criminals. You're lying, Mother gasps. Ask her about the offshore accounts. Ask her what really happened to your retirement fund. Emma's facade cracks. They threatened Ryan, his gambling debts, but they were going to hurt the boys. Father's heart monitor speeds up. Mark, Mother warns. So you sacrificed our family instead? I press. Used Father's power of attorney to clean dirty money? I had no choice. A nurse appears. You need to leave. His blood pressure. Emma shoves past me, fleeing down the corridor. Mother follows, calling her name. I stay, watching Father's monitors normalize. I should have seen it, he murmurs. Should have protected you both better. It's too late for that. My phone buzzes, an unknown number. Decision time, Miss Thompson. The authorities get the evidence tomorrow. Your sister's associates won't be pleased. Father reaches for my hand. Whatever you're planning, Jade. Remember, she's still your sister. I look at him, really look at him, for the first time in years. The strong, intimidating father who always took Emma's side now seems fragile, human. Another victim of Emma's manipulation. She stopped being my sister long ago. Outside the hospital, I call the number back. If I give you everything I have on Emma, what happens to my family? They'll be protected, but your sister, well, both her legitimate and illegitimate associates will want their pound of flesh. I watch Emma through the hospital window, crying in Mother's arms, still the center of attention, still playing the victim. The USB drive weighs heavy in my pocket. Salvation or damnation, depending on how I use it. I'll need guarantees, I tell the voice. Written protection for my parents, Ryan, the kids. And Emma? Through the glass, our eyes meet. For a moment, I see past the perfect facade to the desperate woman beneath. She mouths something. Please. Give me 24 hours, I say, and hang up. The game has changed. This isn't about family anymore. It's about survival. And I'm not sure whose. The family gathering for Father's return from the hospital feels like a powder keg waiting for a spark. Mother's arranged everything perfectly. Food, flowers, the pretense of normalcy. Emma sits beside Father, playing the devoted daughter, while Ryan hovers nervously near the door. I clutch my phone. containing everything needed to destroy Emma's carefully constructed world. The 24 hours are almost up. A toast, Mother announces, raising her glass. To family healing. Emma's eyes meet mine across the table. She knows. She has to know. My phone vibrates. Another message from the mysterious contact. Time's up. Decision? Father sets down his fork. Girls, I've been thinking about everything that's happened. A loud knock interrupts him. Two men in dark suits enter, followed by the man from the park bench. Ryan goes pale. Mrs. Brooks, one suit says, we need to discuss some irregularities in your accounts. Emma stands, hands shaking. This isn't the time. Actually, I pull out my phone. It's exactly the time. Show them, Emma. Show everyone what you've really been doing. Jade, please. Her voice cracks. Think about the boys. Like you thought about Father when you stole his retirement? Or me when you took my college fund? The suits move closer. Mrs. Brooks, we can do this privately, or... It wasn't just me. Emma's mask finally shatters. Ryan's debts, these people were going to hurt us. I had to protect my family. By destroying ours, I project the financial records onto the dining room wall using my phone. Look, Father, every transaction, every theft, every lie. Mother gasps at the numbers. Father's face goes ashen. You don't understand, Emma sobs. They'll kill Ryan. They'll take everything. They already have. I slam my hands on the table. You took everything from all of us. And for what? To save your perfect life? The man from the park steps forward. Actually, Miss Thompson, your sister's crimes go deeper than you know. Show them the last file. My hands shake as I open it. The room goes silent as images appear. Documents showing Emma's connection to international criminal organizations, money laundering schemes far beyond Ryan's gambling debts. Emma, Mother whispers, tell me this isn't true. But Emma's already running. Ryan tries to grab her, but she pushes past him, heading for the door. The suits move to follow. Wait! I call out, something clicking into place. The pregnancy, it's not real, is it? Just another manipulation. Emma freezes. Her laugh sounds hollow. You always were too clever, little sister, but not clever enough to see the whole picture. She pulls out a gun. Everything happens at once. Mother screams. The suits draw weapons. Father clutches his chest. Nobody moves. Emma's voice is eerily calm. Jade, delete the files, all of them, now. Or what? You'll shoot me? Your own sister? Sister? She laughs again. We stopped being sisters the moment you chose revenge over family. Delete them. I look at my phone. Years of evidence, proof of every crime, every manipulation. My chance for justice, for revenge. Emma, please, Ryan begs. Think about the boys. I am thinking about them. She's crying now, mascara running. Everything I did was for them, and you... She points the gun at me. You had to ruin it all. I raise my phone. Last chance, Emma. Surrender, and maybe... The gunshot is deafening. Pain explodes in my shoulder. Through the chaos, I see Emma running, hear sirens approaching. My phone clatters to the floor, screen cracking. Jade! Nina's voice seems far away. When did she arrive? Stay with me. Mother's crying, Father's having another attack, and somewhere in the distance, Emma's escaping with all her secrets. The man from the park kneels beside me. The files are safe. We'll find her. But as darkness creeps in at the edges of my vision, I realize the truth. In winning my revenge, I've lost everything else. The family I wanted to punish is shattered beyond repair, and the sister I wanted to destroy has become something far worse than I imagined. The last thing I see is my cracked phone screen, still projecting Emma's crimes on the wall, a testament to victory that feels more like defeat. Some victories, I whisper as consciousness fades, cost too much. The sirens grow louder, but Emma's already gone, taking with her any chance of this ending the way I planned. In trying to destroy her perfect life, I've unleashed something far more dangerous than simple revenge. The hospital room feels too small, my bandaged shoulder a constant reminder of Emma's final betrayal. 3 days since the shooting, and still no sign of her, until my phone lights up with a message. Storage Unit 247. Come alone, or Ryan's gambling friends finish what they started. Nina tries to stop me from leaving. You can't trust her. Let the police handle it. She's still my sister. The words taste bitter, and those men will kill her. The storage facility looms against the sunset, rows of identical metal doors stretching endlessly. Unit 247's padlock hangs open, waiting. Inside, Emma stands beside a stack of boxes, looking smaller than I remember. You came alone? I step inside. Unlike you, I keep my promises. Promises? She laughs, but it sounds wrong. Like promising to protect family? Look how well that turned out. You shot me. You destroyed everything I built. You mean everything you stole? I gesture to my shoulder. Was it worth it? Becoming this? Emma moves closer, something desperate in her eyes. You don't understand. Ryan's debts were just the beginning. These people, they own me now. Every transaction, every investment, it was all them. Then why run? Turn yourself in. Get protection. Protection? She pulls out her phone, showing me a video. Lucas and Mason playing in an unfamiliar room. They took my boys, Jade. Said I had 24 hours to deliver the money or... Her voice breaks. The pieces click together. This meeting isn't about reconciliation. The files you have, the evidence, it's worth millions to the right buyers, enough to save my children. And damn everyone else? I step back. What about father's heart attack? Mother's breakdown? The family you destroyed? I never meant... She stops, head tilting. You hear that? Footsteps outside. Multiple sets. They followed you, Emma whispers. Or you led them here. The door slams shut. Metal groans as something heavy blocks it. Emma's phone rings. A familiar voice fills the small space. Ladies, thank you for making this easy. Where are my children? Emma demands. Safe, for now. But we need those files, Miss Thompson. All of them. Your sister's evidence could cause... complications. I pull out my phone. You want complications? One click sends everything to every law enforcement agency in the country. Then your nephews die first. Emma lunges for my phone. We struggle, crashing into boxes. My shoulder screams in pain. Give it to them, she begs. Please, they're just babies. Stop, I shove her back. Think, if we give them everything, we're both dead. The boys too, they'll never leave witnesses. Something shifts in Emma's expression. For a moment, I see my sister again. Not the perfect facade or the desperate criminal, but the girl who once protected me from schoolyard bullies. The ventilation shaft, she whispers. It connects to Unit 245. Smoke starts seeping under the door. They're trying to flush us out. The files, the voice calls. 10 seconds or we do this the hard way. I look at my phone, then at Emma. Do you trust me? Never. She smiles sadly. But I don't have a choice. I hit send, not to the criminals or the police, but to Nina, along with our location and a prearranged signal. Help is coming, but we have to survive long enough. The smoke thickens. Emma boosts me toward the vent as pounding starts on the door. If we get out of this, I grunt, pulling myself up, you're still going to prison. I know. She coughs. But my boys... We'll have one parent who chose them over crime. I reach down. Now climb. We crawl through darkness as the storage unit fills with smoke. Behind us, the door gives way with a crash. They're in the vents, someone shouts. Emma grabs my ankle. Jade, I'm sorry for everything. Save it, we're not dead yet. Sirens wail in the distance. Nina came through. But as gunshots ring out below us, I realize this isn't over. Emma and I may survive this night, but our family will never be the same. Sometimes revenge doesn't end with a bang, but with two sisters crawling through darkness, running from the consequences of their choices. The courthouse steps feel colder than they should in summer. Emma stands before the judge in designer prison orange, her perfect posture finally broken. Mother clutches father's arm in the gallery, while Ryan sits alone, the boys mercifully absent. I touch my healed shoulder as Emma speaks. I accept full responsibility for my actions, she says, but her eyes find mine. The path to hell is paved with desperate choices. The sentence comes down heavy. 15 years. Mother sobs. Father stares straight ahead, aged decades in months. I remain seated as they lead Emma away, her final glance carrying something between hatred and understanding. Outside, Ryan approaches with papers in hand. The boys ask about you. Better than asking about their mother in prison. I take the documents, adoption papers. Emma's giving up custody to protect them from her crimes. They need family, he says quietly. They have you. They need more than a reformed gambling addict. He runs a hand through his graying hair. Emma wants you to be their guardian if anything happens to me. The irony tastes like ash. The sister who shot me now trusts me with her children's future. Nina waits by her car, watching. She's been my shadow through all this, keeping me from drowning in victory's hollow echo. I'll think about it, I tell Ryan. Father catches me before I leave. Was it worth it? Was what worth it? The revenge, destroying your sister, our family. I look at the courthouse where Emma disappeared. She destroyed herself. I just exposed the truth. And now, what's left for any of us? The question follows me home, where Emma's case files still cover my desk. Evidence of her crimes, her lies, her desperate attempt to maintain her perfect life. But beneath them lies something else. Childhood photos I couldn't bring myself to pack away. Two sisters before shadows and resentment grew between them. My phone rings. The prison. Emma, making her one aloud call. I never apologized, she says without greeting. For the shooting, for everything before. Save it. We're past apologies. Maybe, but I need you to know, it wasn't all lies. Not in the beginning. I really thought I could protect everyone. By sacrificing me? By being perfect, strong enough for all of us. She pauses. Ryan showed me the papers. Will you do it? Watch over them? I trace the scar on my shoulder. Why me? Because you're the only one strong enough to tell them the truth when they're ready. About their mother, their father, all of it. The truth? I laugh. Since when do you care about truth? Since I realized lies cost me everything. Her voice catches. They'll need someone who understands that. The line goes dead. I stare at the phone, then at the childhood photos. Two girls smiling, before one became the golden child and the other learned to hate. Nina brings wine later, settling beside me on the balcony. So what now? You won. Emma's in prison. The truth's out. Truth, I murmur. Funny thing about truth, it doesn't fix anything, just leaves wreckage to sort through. And the boys? I think of Lucas and Mason, innocent casualties of adult wars, of Emma's final request, not for forgiveness, but for protection of what matters most. Maybe that's the real revenge, I say finally. Not destroying Emma's perfect life, but building something better from its ruins. Something real. Nina studies me. Sounds less like revenge and more like redemption. Maybe they're the same thing in the end. Below, the city lights flicker like stars, each one a story of triumph or tragedy. Somewhere in that maze of light and shadow, two boys wait to learn who they'll become, their mother's sons or their own men. I pull out my phone and text Ryan. I'll do it. For them, not for her. His reply comes quickly. That's exactly why she chose you. The night air carries a hint of autumn, of change coming whether we're ready or not. I lift my wine glass, toasting the shadows of who we were and the uncertainty of who we'll become. Some victories leave scars deeper than any defeat. But maybe that's how you know they mattered.
The sound of laughter drifts through the open window of my childhood home, a sound I wasn't meant to hear. I freeze on the front path, keys dangling uselessly in my hand. My family's voices float out into the warm evening air. Mother's tinkling laugh, Emily's excited chatter, even Father's deep chuckle. A full family gathering, one I clearly wasn't invited to. I'm Isabel, The forgotten daughter, the invisible sister, the perpetual afterthought. It's perfect timing, really, Emily's voice carries clearly. While Isabel's away at that conference thing, Peter and I could start moving our stuff in. The house is way too big for just her anyway. My house, the one I bought myself after 10 years of research and grant writing, the one they mocked me for purchasing in such an expensive neighborhood. Darling, that's wonderful, Mother exclaims. You two deserve a proper home to start your family in. I step closer to the window, my heart pounding against my ribs. The roses I planted last spring brush against my legs, their thorns catching on my pants. Isabel won't mind, Peter's smooth voice adds. She's always saying how lonely that big place gets. I've never said any such thing to him. In fact, I barely speak to my sister's husband at all. Something about his perfectly practiced charm sets my teeth on edge. We should wait to tell her, though, Emily continues. You know how she gets about her things. So, particular. Father's voice rumbles in agreement. Better to present it as a done deal. She'll come around. She always does. My fingers curl into fists, nails biting into my palms. They're right about one thing. I always have come around. Always swallowed my protests, smiled through gritted teeth, given in to keep the peace. 20 years of making myself smaller, quieter, less demanding. 20 years of watching Emily take and take while I fade into the background. To the new homeowners, Mother declares, followed by the clink of glasses. I back away from the window, nearly stumbling over my own feet. My chest feels tight, like all the air has been squeezed out of my lungs. They're in there toasting to the theft of my home. The one thing I've achieved that they couldn't diminish or dismiss. My phone buzzes in my pocket. A text from Emily. Hey sis, can you come over to Mum and Dad's? Family dinner tonight. The casual cruelty of it hits me like a physical blow. They're probably wondering why I'm late, playing at confusion while they plot behind my back. I stare at the message until the screen goes dark, then turn and walk back to my car. For the first time in my life, I don't respond to Emily's text. Don't make excuses. Don't smooth things over. Instead, I drive straight to Aunt Valerie's house on the other side of town. She's been estranged from the family for years. Another strong woman they couldn't control. My hands shake as I ring her doorbell. When she opens the door, her eyes widen at the sight of me. Isabel? What's wrong? I need your help, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. I'm done being the good daughter. She studies my face for a long moment, then steps aside to let me in. It's about time, she says softly. Come in and tell me everything. As I cross her threshold, I feel something shift inside me, like a door closing, or maybe opening. Either way, there's no going back now. They want to take my house. Fine, let them try. But this time, they're going to learn what happens when they push too far. This time, I push back. 3 days after discovering their plan, I sit at my parents' dining table, watching Emily monopolize yet another family dinner. The crystal chandelier catches the evening light, casting fractured shadows across her perfect smile as she details her latest achievement, organizing a charity gala that raised $5,000. The mayor himself called to thank me, she beams, cutting into her roast beef. He says I have a natural talent for bringing people together. Mother practically glows. You've always had such a gift for these things, darling. I take a slow sip of wine, letting the bitter taste linger. Yesterday, my research team secured a $1 million grant for cancer treatment studies. But I know better than to mention it now. Actually, Emily continues, that's partly why Peter and I have been thinking about the future. She shoots me a sideways glance that makes my stomach clench. We need more space for networking, hosting events. Father sets down his fork. Have you found somewhere? We're exploring options. Emily's voice drips with manufactured innocence. Actually, Isabel, your neighborhood would be perfect for us. I carefully place my wine glass on the table. Really? Houses there are quite expensive. Oh, we have ways of making it work, Peter chimes in, his smile never reaching his eyes. The market's full of opportunities if you know where to look. Speaking of opportunities, I say, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Did you ever sort out that issue with your investment firm, Peter? The one that made the news last month? The silence that follows is delicious. Peter's smile falters for just a fraction of a second. What issue? Mother asks, looking between us. Just a minor regulatory misunderstanding. Peter recovers smoothly. All resolved now. Isabel must have seen some outdated article. Funny, I continue. Butter wouldn't melt in my mouth, because I could have sworn I saw something about it just yesterday. Isabel, Father cuts in sharply, let's not discuss business at dinner. Emily was telling us about her charity work. Of course she was. Emily was always telling us about something. I watch her shoot Peter a reassuring look, her hand finding his under the table. The diamond on her finger catches the light, probably worth 3 months of his salary, if he actually earned what he claimed. Well, Emily chirps, clearly eager to change the subject, we have more exciting news. We're thinking about starting a family soon. Mother gasps in delight. The crystal glasses practically vibrate with her joy. Oh, darling, that's wonderful. Isn't it? Emily's eyes find mine again, triumphant. We'll need plenty of space for a nursery, of course, and a yard for the children to play in. The implication hangs in the air like smoke. My house has 4 bedrooms, a sprawling backyard, everything a growing family could want. Your sister's house would be perfect, Mother says, as if reading from a script. Isabel, you barely use half those rooms anyway. My fingers tighten around my fork. I use every room in my house, Mother. The 2nd bedroom is my home office, the 3rd is my library, and the 4th. But you're hardly ever there, Emily interrupts. Always at the lab, or at those boring conferences. Those boring conferences are where I present my research, I say, my voice taking on an edge. Research that could help save lives. Father waves his hand dismissively. Yes, we know all about your work. But family should come first, Isabel. Your sister needs... What about what I need? The words escape before I can stop them, sharp and clear in the suddenly silent room. 4 pairs of eyes stare at me in shock. I've broken the cardinal rule. I've disrupted the carefully maintained fiction of our perfect family dynamic. I think, I say, standing slowly, I should go. Don't be dramatic, Isabel, Mother starts, but I'm already moving toward the door. Thank you for dinner, I say, my voice perfectly controlled. I'll see myself out. As I walk to my car, I hear the front door open behind me. Izzy, wait, Emily calls out, using my childhood nickname like a weapon. You're being ridiculous. We're family. We're supposed to help each other. I turn to face her, illuminated in the porch light like an angel in a Renaissance painting. For the first time, I see her clearly. Not as my beloved little sister, but as the person she's become. Yes, I say softly, we are family. Remember that when everything falls apart. I leave her standing there, mouth open in surprise. In my rearview mirror, I watch her figure grow smaller, still framed in the doorway like a portrait of innocence about to be shattered. Aunt Valerie's living room feels like a confessional at midnight. Files spread across her coffee table, illuminated by a single lamp, casting long shadows on the walls. She hands me a thick manila envelope, her expression grim. You need to see this, Isabel. Her voice is steady, but her hands shake slightly. I've been tracking Peter's business dealings since he married Emily. What I found, it's worse than we thought. I pull out document after document, bank statements, property records, legal notices. Numbers blur before my eyes until one figure makes me stop breathing. This can't be right. Your parents remortgaged their house 6 months ago, Aunt Valerie confirms. They gave Peter the money for his investment scheme, nearly everything they had. The pieces click together with sickening clarity. That's why they want my house. They're not just helping Emily, they're desperate. Peter's firm is under federal investigation, she continues, sliding another document toward me. These complaints go back 3 years. Ponzi scheme, fraud, embezzlement. My phone buzzes. Another text from Emily. Can we talk? I hate how we left things. I ignore it, focusing on the papers in front of me. Does Emily know? About the investigation? No. About your parents' money? Maybe. But there's more. Aunt Valerie pulls out her laptop, turning it toward me. Look at these property records. My eyes scan the screen, catching on familiar addresses. These are all foreclosures, houses in my neighborhood. Peter's been buying them through shell companies, flipping them for profit. But look at the sale prices versus the actual market value. The numbers don't add up. Can't add up. Unless a knock at the door makes us both jump. Through the window, I see Emily's car in the driveway. Isabel? Her voice carries through the door. I know you're in there. Your car's outside. Aunt Valerie helps me gather the documents, shoving them into a drawer. When I open the door, Emily bursts in like she owns the place. What are you doing here? She demands, looking between us. With her? Having tea with my aunt, I say smoothly. Is that a crime? Emily's perfect composure cracks slightly. You know mother and father don't approve of... Of what? Aunt Valerie cuts in. Of the only person who told them the truth about their precious son-in-law 3 years ago? Emily's face flushes. That was different. Peter explained everything. Did he explain why our parents had to refinance their house? The words escape before I can stop them. The color drains from Emily's face. How did you... No. I step closer. The same way I know about the federal investigation into Peter's firm. The same way I know about the foreclosure scheme he's running in my neighborhood. You don't understand, Emily whispers. He has a plan. He's going to fix everything. With my house? My laugh sounds hollow even to my own ears. Is that why you're really here? To make sure I don't ruin your husband's latest con? It's not like that. Emily's voice rises, hysteria creeping in. We just need time, a few months in your house while we sort things out. Peter says a lot of things, Aunt Valerie interjects. But the numbers don't lie. Emily's face hardens. You've always been jealous of me, both of you. You can't stand that I'm happy, that I have everything you don't. Everything I don't? I gesture to the room around us. I have a career I built myself, a home I earned. What do you have, Emily? A husband who's about to drag our whole family down with him. You're wrong about him, she says, but her voice wavers. And if you try to interfere, I'll make sure mother and father never speak to you again. I meet her eyes, seeing not my little sister, but a stranger wearing her face. Go ahead, but remember, when everything falls apart, you chose this. She leaves like she arrived, in a whirlwind of self-righteous anger. Through the window, I watch her speed away, probably straight to Peter to warn him. What now? Aunt Valerie asks softly. I pull out my phone, scrolling through contacts until I find the number I need. Now we call Diana Lewis. It's time to get proof they can't ignore. The phone rings 3 times before a crisp voice answers. Lewis Investigations. I need your help, I say, watching Emily's taillights disappear into the night. My family's about to lose everything, and I need to make sure the right people go down for it. Diana Lewis spreads photographs across my kitchen counter, like a dealer laying out cards for a high-stakes game. Each image tells a story. Peter shaking hands with known fraudsters, entering buildings through back doors, passing envelopes in shadowy parking lots. Your brother-in-law's been busy, Diana says, tapping one particular photo. This man here, former SEC investigator turned private consultant. They've met 6 times in the past month. My coffee grows cold beside me as I study the evidence of Peter's double life. And my parents' money? Already gone. Diana's voice is gentle but firm. Transferred through 3 shell companies, then offshore. Classic exit strategy. The doorbell rings, making me jump. Through the peephole, I see Mother standing on my porch, clutching her designer handbag like a shield. Isabel, she calls out, please, I need to talk to you. I gesture for Diana to gather the photos, watching her slip them into a folder and disappear into my study. When I open the door, Mother bursts in, her perfectly maintained facade cracking around the edges. Emily told me what happened at Valerie's, she says, pacing my foyer. How could you say such terrible things about Peter? Are they terrible if they're true? She stops, her shoulders stiffening. He explained everything to your father. The investment opportunity was too good to pass up. Was that before or after you remortgaged the house? The color drains from her face. How did you? No. I lean against the wall, watching her. The same way I know about the federal investigation. The same way I know where Dad's retirement fund really went. You don't understand, she whispers, but there's fear in her eyes now. Peter says it's just temporary. Once the market turns. There is no market turn coming, Mother. It's a con. All of it. She shakes her head violently. No, Emily would know. She wouldn't let. Emily sees what she wants to see, just like you and Dad always have. Mother's hand trembles as she reaches for her phone. I should call your father. He'll explain. Actually, I say, moving to block her, I think you should see something first. I lead her to my study where Diana waits with the evidence spread out again. Mother's gasp is audible as she takes in the photos, the documents, the truth she's been avoiding. That's not, she starts, but her voice fails as she picks up a photo of Peter meeting with a known fraud consultant. When was this taken? Last week, Diana answers, 2 days after he convinced your husband to sign over power of attorney. Mother sinks into my desk chair, her carefully constructed world crumbling. What do we do? We can still stop this, I say, gentler now, but you have to trust me, and we have to act fast. Her phone buzzes, Emily's name flashing on the screen. Mother stares at it, then slowly turns it face down. Tell me everything, she whispers. We spend the next hour showing her the evidence, explaining the scheme, watching reality sink in. When Diana leaves, Mother remains at my desk, aged years in minutes. Why didn't you come to me sooner? I ask finally. She looks up, tears in her eyes. Because admitting I was wrong about Peter meant admitting I was wrong about so much else. About Emily. About you. The words I've waited decades to hear, and they taste like ashes. I have to tell your father, she says, standing shakily. And Emily? Oh God, Emily. Let me handle Emily, I say, walking her to the door. But Mother, don't tell Peter you were here. Don't let him suspect anything. She nods, then turns back suddenly. Isabel, I'm sorry, for everything. After she leaves, I stand in my empty foyer, the weight of secrets pressing down like lead. My phone buzzes, a text from Aunt Valerie. Peter just called, wants to meet tomorrow to clear the air. What's your play? I think of the evidence in my study, of Mother's broken expression, of Emily's blind faith in her husband. Of all the years I stayed quiet, played nice, kept the peace. Set up the meeting, I text back. Time to end this. My finger hovers over the send button for just a moment. Once I press it, there's no going back. No more playing the good daughter, the understanding sister. No more peace to keep. I press send. The cafe Peter chose sits at the edge of the financial district, all glass and chrome, and carefully cultivated sophistication. He's already there when I arrive, perfectly pressed suit and practiced smile, rising to greet me like we're old friends. Isabel, he says warmly, thank you for meeting me. Diana's voice echoes in my head. Remember, let him talk. The more comfortable he feels, the more he'll reveal. The wire beneath my blouse feels like it's burning against my skin. Peter, I reply, sliding into the seat across from him. I assume this is about the house. He laughs, all charm and ease. Always straight to the point. That's what I've always admired about you. The waiter appears, and Peter orders expensive coffee for both of us without asking what I want. Just like always. Actually, he continues, I wanted to clear the air. Emily told me about your concerns. Did she tell you everything? His smile flickers for just a moment. She mentioned you've been talking to Valerie, looking into my business dealings. The coffee arrives, and I watch him add exactly 2 sugars to his cup. Such precise movements for a man who's stolen millions. I have to admit, he says, I'm hurt. If you had questions about my investments, you could have come directly to me. Like my parents did. His expression doesn't change, but but his knuckles whiten around his cup. Your parents made an informed decision to invest in their future, our future, as family. Family, I repeat, tasting the bitterness of the word. Is that why you're planning to move into my house? Because we're family? Isabel, he leans forward, voice dropping conspiratorially. I know you think you've uncovered something sinister, but you're only seeing pieces of a much larger picture. Let me explain. My phone buzzes, a text from Diana. FBI moving in on his office now, keep him talking. Actually, I cut him off, I'd love to hear about the larger picture, starting with the offshore accounts. The charm vanishes from his face like a mask being stripped away. Who have you been talking to? Does it matter? The FBI is probably asking the same questions right now. He goes completely still, and for the first time, I see the predator behind the polish. What have you done? What you forced me to do. I pull out my phone, showing him the live news alert about raids at his firm. It's over, Peter. He moves so fast I barely register it, grabbing my wrist across the table, coffee cups clattering. You have no idea what you've started, he hisses, all pretense gone. Your parents will lose everything. Emily, let go of me. My voice carries across the cafe, heads turning. Emily's pregnant. The words hit like a physical blow. You're lying. 2 months along. His grip tightens. Still want to destroy your sister's life? Take everything from your future niece or nephew. For a moment, I waver. Then I remember Mother's broken expression, the years of manipulation, the casual cruelty masked as family loyalty. If Emily's really pregnant, I say quietly, then she deserves to know the truth about her child's father. His phone starts ringing, probably his partner's discovering the raid. In the distance, sirens wail. Last chance, Isabel, he says, voice deadly calm. Walk away now. Let me handle this. Or I promise you, what's left of this family won't survive what comes next. I lean forward, meeting his eyes. You know what your mistake was, Peter. Thinking I still cared about saving this family. I'm not trying to save anything anymore. I'm burning it all down. He releases my wrist, standing so abruptly his chair topples backward. You'll regret this. No, I say, watching him gather his things with shaking hands. I really won't. As he strides out, already barking orders into his phone, I send a quick text to Diana. He's running. Her response is immediate. We've got eyes on him. You okay? I look down at my wrist, already bruising, physical proof of what's been hidden beneath the surface all these years. My phone starts lighting up with messages. Emily, Mother, Father, all demanding explanations. No, I text back to Diana. But I will be. I leave enough cash on the table to cover the untouched coffee and walk out into the sunlight. Behind me, Peter's perfectly ordered world is crumbling. Ahead of me lies the wreckage of everything I once called family. And somewhere in between, I'm finally finding my voice. My parents' living room has become a battlefield. Evidence folders spread across the coffee table like landmines, Diana's photographs scattered like shrapnel, and in the center of it all, my family fracturing before my eyes. This is absurd, Father thunders, throwing down the bank statements. Peter would never... He already has, I cut in, sliding forward another document. Your retirement account, Dad. Check the balance. His hands shake as he reaches for his phone, pulling up his banking app. The color drains from his face. This can't be right. Mother sits silent in her armchair, staring at the photos of Peter with his criminal associates. She hasn't spoken since we started. The front door slams open. Emily storms in, mascara streaked down her face. What have you done? She screams at me. The FBI just arrested Peter. What I had to do, I say, standing to face her. He was stealing from our parents, Emily, from everyone. You're lying. She grabs one of the folders, throwing it across the room. Papers flutter like wounded birds. You've always been jealous, always wanted to ruin my happiness. Emily, Mother finally speaks, her voice barely a whisper. The baby. Emily's hand flies to her stomach protectively. Peter told you. He tried to use it to manipulate me, I say softly, just like he's been manipulating all of us. No. Emily backs away, shaking her head. No, you don't understand. We had plans. The house. Everything was going to be perfect. My house, I remind her, the one you were planning to take while I was away. Because we needed it, she shrieks. Peter said. He promised. Father's phone rings. His lawyer. The conversation is brief, devastating. When he hangs up, he looks aged a decade. The house is gone, he says hollowly. The investments, the savings, everything. Not everything, I say. I've been working with the FBI. There might be a way to recover some. Get out! Emily's voice cuts like glass. Emily, get out! She grabs a photo frame from the mantel. Us as children, smiling, innocent, and hurls it at me. I dodge, and it shatters against the wall. You've destroyed everything. Our family, my marriage, my baby's future. Your baby's future was destroyed the moment Peter decided to commit fraud. I shoot back. I'm trying to save what's left. Save? Mother laughs bitterly. Look around, Isabel. What's left to save? The room falls silent except for Emily's sobs. I look at them, my broken family, the people I thought I was protecting, and see only strangers staring back with hatred in their eyes. My phone buzzes. Diana. Peter's talking, says Emily knew everything. The words blur on the screen as pieces click into place. Emily's desperate defense of Peter, her insistence on taking my house, her perfectly timed pregnancy announcement. You knew, I whisper, looking at my sister. Didn't you? Her tears stop instantly. In that moment, I see Peter's influence in the calculated shift of her expression. Of course I knew, she says coldly. Someone had to fix this family's finances. While you were playing scientist, Peter and I were securing our future. Emily, Mother gasps. What? Emily turns on her. Did you really think your precious charity galas could maintain our lifestyle? At least Peter had vision. Father slumps in his chair, defeated. Mother begins to weep, and I stand in the middle of it all, victory turning to ashes in my mouth. The FBI will want to talk to you too, I tell Emily quietly. She straightens, smoothing her designer dress. Let them. Unlike Peter, I was smart enough not to leave a paper trail. But you left me, I say, and I remember everything. For the first time, fear flickers in her eyes. She grabs her purse, heading for the door. When this is over, she says, don't expect forgiveness. I'm not looking for forgiveness, I reply, just justice. She leaves, taking the last shreds of our sisterhood with her. Mother won't look at me. Father stares blankly at his empty bank statements. My phone buzzes again. Aunt Valerie. You okay? I look around the battlefield of my childhood home, at the wreckage of decades of lies and manipulation, at the cost of truth. I don't respond to the text. There are no words for this kind of victory, this kind of loss. Instead, I gather my evidence and walk out, leaving my family to face the ruins of their carefully constructed facade. Behind me, Mother finally speaks. What have we all become? I close the door on her question, knowing the answer would break whatever's left of her heart. The courthouse corridor feels endless, my heels echoing against marble as I approach the conference room. Through the glass, I see them all waiting. Mother, Father, Emily, and Peter in handcuffs. Diana stands in the corner, while 2 FBI agents flank the table. Peter's lawyer intercepts me before I can enter. Miss Thompson, my client has a proposition. No deals, I say, reaching for the door. He's willing to take full responsibility. Protect Emily completely. The lawyer lowers his voice. Your sister's pregnancy. Surely you don't want your niece or nephew born while their mother's in prison. I pause, hand on the doorknob. Let me guess. In exchange, I drop my testimony about Emily's involvement. He smiles, thinking he's won. I push past him into the room. Emily sits beside Peter, their fingers intertwined despite his cuffs. Mother won't meet my eyes. Father stares at his folded hands. Isabel, Peter starts, all charm even now. Thank you for... Save it. I place a USB drive on the table. You should listen to this first. Diana steps forward, connecting the drive to a laptop. Emily's voice fills the room. Of course I knew about the accounts, Peter. I helped set them up. Isabel's such a fool. She actually thinks you're the mastermind. Peter goes rigid. Emily's grip on his hand loosens. The recording continues. Once she's out of the way at that conference, we'll have everything. Her house, her trust fund share, all of it. She never deserved any of it anyway. Turn it off, Emily whispers. Why? I ask. Isn't this the vision you were talking about? The future you were securing? You recorded me. Emily stands trembling. Your own sister? You were planning to steal everything from me. Your own sister. Miss Collins, one FBI agent interrupts. You told us you had no knowledge of your husband's activities. Emily's mask cracks. I want my lawyer. Emily, Mother finally speaks. Tell them they're wrong. Tell them. They're not wrong, I cut in. She orchestrated everything. Peter was just the face of the operation. The charming distraction while Emily handled the real work. Peter laughs suddenly, harsh and cold. Well played, darling, he tells Emily. I actually believed you were the innocent one. Shut up, Emily hisses. Why should I? You've clearly been playing me as much as I played them. He turns to the agents. I think I'm ready to revise my statement. The room erupts. Emily screaming at Peter, lawyers shouting objections, agents calling for order. Through it all, I stand still, watching my sister's carefully constructed world collapse. You did this, Emily snarls at me over the chaos. Destroyed our family because you couldn't stand seeing me happy. Happy? I step closer, voice cutting through the noise. You were happy destroying our parents, happy watching them lose everything while you lined your pockets. They never lost faith in me, she spits. Never questioned me like they did you, because I earned their love. Earned it with lies, I say softly. And now they know the truth. Mother starts crying. Father finally looks up, decades of certainty crumbling in his eyes. Emily, he whispers, what have you done? The fight drains from her suddenly. She sinks back into her chair, looking small and lost, not the golden child anymore, just a scared woman facing consequences for the first time. I want to make a deal, she says quietly to the agents. Peter lunges across the table, cuffs rattling. You manipulative little... The agents restrain him as Emily's lawyer hurries her from the room. Mother follows, still weeping. Father stays seated, looking older than I've ever seen him. Isabel, he says as I turn to leave, I'm sorry for not seeing... I know, I reply, but it's too late. Outside the conference room, Diana waits. You okay? I watch Emily disappear down the corridor between agents, her designer heels clicking against marble like a final countdown. They wanted my house, I say, my life, everything I built, and now... Now they lose everything instead, Diana finishes. No, I correct her, straightening my shoulders. They lost it all the moment they decided to take what wasn't theirs. I just made sure they couldn't pretend anymore. I walk away from the wreckage of my family's lies, leaving behind the perfect daughter, the golden child, the sister I thought I knew. Ahead lies uncertainty, but at least it's honest. Sometimes revenge isn't about destroying someone else's world. Sometimes it's about refusing to let them destroy yours. The nursery mobile spins slowly above an empty crib, casting butterfly shadows on freshly painted walls. Emily's baby shower invitation sits unopened on my desk, forwarded by Mother, who still hopes for reconciliation even after the sentencing. I pack the mobile carefully into its box, a gift purchased in a different life before I knew the truth about my sister, before she chose greed over family. The doorbell rings. Through the peephole, I see Father standing on my porch, looking smaller somehow in his worn jacket. No more tailored suits, since the restitution payments began. The house is being sold, he says when I open the door. No greeting, no pretense. Your mother and I, We can't keep up with the payments anymore. I step aside, letting him in. He pauses in my foyer, eyes catching on the family photos I haven't taken down yet. Emily's lawyer called. She's asking for character witnesses for her hearing. And? I told him no. His voice cracks. I can't lie anymore. The silence stretches between us, heavy with decades of unspoken truths. He moves to my living room window, staring out at the garden I've finally had time to tend. Your roses are blooming, he says softly. They do better when no one's trying to take them from me. He flinches, deserved pain. Isabel, don't. I pick up the baby shower invitation. Have you visited her? Once. He turns from the window. She's different in there, smaller, like the Emily we knew was just a costume she wore. Maybe that's who she really is when she can't take things from other people. The invitation crumples in my hand. Father watches, his face lined with fresh grief. We failed you both, he says finally. Gave Emily everything she wanted, taught her she could take whatever she desired. And you? He stops, swallowing hard. We taught you to expect nothing. You taught me to build my own life, I correct him, even if that wasn't your intention. My phone buzzes. A text from Diana. Peter took the expanded plea deal, rolling on everyone. Emily will serve the full term, I tell Father. Peter's testimony ensures that. He nods slowly. Good. The simple word carries the weight of transformation. A father choosing justice over protection, truth over comfort. We're moving in with Valerie, he says suddenly. Your mother and I. She offered, after everything. A laugh escapes me, sharp and surprised. The sister you shunned for 20 years, taking in the family that cast her out. Life has a way of burning down what we thought we knew. He moves toward the door, then stops. Your mother wants to know. Will you come for Sunday dinner? At Valerie's? I think of all the Sunday dinners where I sat silent, watching Emily shine, of mother's dismissals and father's blind spots, of the family we were, and the broken pieces we've become. I'll think about it. He accepts this with a nod, understanding it's more than he deserves. At the door, he turns one last time. The roses really are beautiful, Isabel. I'm sorry I never noticed before. After he leaves, I carry the mobile to my car. The women's shelter downtown always needs donations, and somewhere, a baby who isn't born from lies might enjoy watching butterflies dance. My phone buzzes again. Aunt Valerie, you okay? I look at my house, truly mine now, no threat of theft or invasion. At my garden, blooming wild and free. At the life I've built, stronger for having been defended. Yes, I text back. Then, after a moment, save me a seat for Sunday dinner. Her response is immediate. Always had one for you, just waiting for you to claim it. I drive away from my house, the mobile box secure beside me. Ahead lies a future I never expected. Sunday dinners with Aunt Valerie, parents learning humility, a sister serving time for her crimes. Not revenge exactly, not forgiveness either. Something in between, where truth lives, where butterflies cast shadows on empty cribs, and roses bloom fiercer for having been protected, where family isn't what you're given, but what you choose to build from the ashes of what burns away.
The crystal champagne flute trembled in my hand as I watched my brother Ryan work the crowd at his own surprise birthday party. Every fake laugh, every calculated gesture. It was all so perfectly orchestrated, just like everything else in his charmed life. Speech! Speech! The crowd chanted, and Ryan stepped onto the small platform we'd set up in the garden, his perfect white teeth gleaming under the string lights. I'm Neve, the sister who planned this whole affair, though you wouldn't know it from the way our parents were fawning over Ryan like he'd personally hung the moon. 38 years old and still their golden child. I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight, Ryan began, his voice carrying that practiced warmth that made everyone lean in closer. Especially my wonderful sister who put this all together. The crowd turned to me with polite applause. I raised my glass, forcing a smile that felt like it might crack my face. That's when I noticed Landon, Ryan's business partner, slipping through the crowd toward the house. Something about his urgency made my event planner's instincts tingle. Ryan's always been an inspiration, our father announced, joining him on the platform. From his first business venture to his latest charity initiative, a commotion from the house cut him off. Landon burst back into the garden, his face ashen. "Ryan, we need you inside. Now." The perfect smile faltered for just a second. I watched my brother's jaw tighten as he excused himself, following Landon with measured steps that barely contained his tension. "Everything okay?" I called after them, already moving to damage control mode. "Stay here," Ryan snapped, not even turning around. I waited exactly 30 seconds before following them inside. The sounds of the party faded as I approached Ryan's home office, replaced by harsh whispers and what sounded like someone throwing things. "How did they get these numbers?" Ryan's voice, stripped of its usual charm, sounded dangerous. "Who else knows?" "The email went to everyone on the investor list," Landon replied. "We need to get ahead of this before—" I pushed the door open. Papers were scattered across the floor, Ryan's laptop screen displaying what looked like financial documents. Both men whirled to face me, and for a moment, I saw something I'd never seen in my brother's eyes before. Fear. "Get out," Ryan said, but I was already scanning the documents visible on his screen. Numbers jumped out at me. Massive discrepancies, redirected funds, fabricated reports. "The charity initiative," I said slowly, pieces clicking into place. "It's all fake, isn't it?" "This doesn't concern you." Landon stepped forward, trying to block my view. "Like hell it doesn't. I just spent weeks planning this party, inviting half of your investors, vouching for your character. And we're grateful," Ryan cut in, his smooth mask sliding back into place. "But this is just a minor accounting issue. Nothing for you to worry about." I laughed, the sound harsh and foreign in my throat. "Minor? Those numbers look like fraud to me, Ryan. The kind that puts people in prison." "You always were quick to judge," he said, his voice dropping to that quiet tone that used to make me feel 2 inches tall when we were kids. "Always thinking the worst of me. But what would you know about running a business? Planning parties isn't exactly high finance." The familiar sting of his dismissal hit its mark, but this time, something else rose up alongside it. Rage, maybe. Or clarity. "I know enough to recognize when I'm being used," I said. "You wanted me to plan this party, invite all these people just so you could control the narrative when this broke, didn't you?" His silence was answer enough. Outside, the party continued, oblivious to the bomb that had just detonated in this room. I turned to leave, my mind already racing with implications, but Ryan's hand caught my arm. "Neve," he said softly. "Family protects family. You understand that, right?" I looked at his hand on my arm, then up into those eyes that had always known exactly how to manipulate me. "Funny," I replied, pulling free. "I don't remember that rule applying when I needed protection." I walked out of the office, leaving my brother and his partner to their crisis. The party lights seemed harsher now, the laughter more hollow. I had a choice to make, and for the first time in my life, I knew exactly what I was going to do about my perfect brother. The family dinner table had always been a battlefield. Tonight, 3 days after Ryan's party disaster, the tension was thick enough to cut with the expensive silver knife my mother insisted on using for these occasions. "The media's getting it all wrong," my father said, cutting into his steak. "These accusations against Ryan's foundation are completely baseless." I stabbed at my salad, watching Ryan masterfully spin his story. He sat at his usual place of honor, Landon beside him, both of them the picture of concerned businessmen wrongfully accused. "It's just a clerical error," Ryan explained, his voice carrying that perfect note of measured concern. "Our accountants are already sorting it out. The real tragedy is how this affects the children our foundation supports." My mother reached across the table to squeeze his hand. "Of course they are, darling. Anyone who knows you knows you'd never—" "Actually," I interrupted, setting down my fork, "I'd love to hear more about these children. Which programs specifically are at risk?" The silence that followed was delicious. Ryan's eyes met mine, a flash of warning in them. Neve? My father's tone carried that familiar edge of disappointment. This isn't the time for interrogations. No? I smiled, remembering the documents I'd seen on Ryan's computer. I just think it's interesting that none of the press releases mention any specific programs or beneficiaries. Landon cleared his throat. We maintain privacy to protect the children, right? I took a sip of wine. How convenient. I've been meaning to ask. Ryan smoothly changed the subject. How's the Collins account going? I heard there were some concerns about your proposal. My hand tightened around the wine glass. Mr. Collins was my biggest potential client, and I'd been pursuing his business for months. The fact that Ryan knew about any concerns meant he'd been talking to people he shouldn't. My proposal is fine, I said evenly, unless someone's been spreading rumors. Just looking out for you, sis, like always. Ryan's smile didn't reach his eyes. Remember that summer you tried to start your own marketing firm? If I hadn't stepped in. You mean when you told all your contacts I was unstable and unreliable? The words burst out before I could stop them. Yeah, that was real brotherly of you. Never. My mother's shock was perfectly practiced. Your brother was protecting you from making a terrible mistake. You weren't ready. I had 3 major clients lined up. I shot back, until they mysteriously backed out after meetings with Ryan. You're being paranoid. Ryan sighed, playing to his audience. Mom, Dad, I'm worried about her. She's been acting strange ever since the party. Because I saw what was on your computer? What computer? My father demanded. Nothing, Ryan and I said simultaneously, our eyes locked in silent warfare. Landon stood suddenly. I think it's time we discuss the real reason we called this dinner. He pulled out an envelope, sliding it across the table to me. We want to hire you, Neve, for a series of events to restore confidence in the foundation. I stared at the envelope, understanding dawning. You want me to help cover this up? We want you to help family, my father corrected. This could be good for everyone. Your business would benefit from the exposure. My business? I laughed, the sound harsh and bitter. My business that I built after Ryan sabotaged my first attempt? That business? Now you're just being dramatic, Ryan said softly. Take the job, Nevi. Show everyone you can be a team player for once. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. A team player? Like when I gave up my college fund so you could start your first business? Or when I worked 2 jobs to help Mom and Dad after your failed venture nearly bankrupted them? That's enough. My father's fist hit the table. Your brother has always looked out for this family. If you can't be grateful... Grateful? The word tasted like poison. For what? The way he's looking out for me now? Trying to make me complicit in whatever fraud he's running? Ryan's mask slipped for just a second, showing something ugly underneath. Be very careful what you're implying, sister dear. I grabbed my purse, heading for the door. Behind me, I heard my mother's disappointed sigh, my father's angry muttering. But it was Ryan's voice that followed me out. Think about the offer, Neve. Family should stick together, especially when things get difficult. I didn't turn around, but I felt his threat settle like ice in my stomach. As I walked to my car, I pulled out my phone and dialed. Maya? Remember that favor you owe me? I need everything you can find on Ryan's foundation. Everything. Maya's research landed in my inbox at 3 a.m, but I was already awake, reviewing the footage from Ryan's live interview. My brother sat there, perfectly composed in his tailored suit, spinning a story about financial transparency and commitment to charity. The morning news show host leaned forward, sympathetic. These allegations must be difficult for your family. They are. Ryan's voice cracked just enough to seem genuine. Especially since... He paused, masterfully manufacturing reluctance. Since what, Mr. Brooks? My phone buzzed. Maya, you need to turn this off. Now. But I couldn't. I watched, paralyzed as my brother destroyed me on national television, since discovering my own sister might be involved in spreading these rumors. Ryan's face showed perfect concern. Nevai, she's always struggled with our family dynamic. When she started making accusations about the foundation's finances, we realized she might need help. The coffee mug slipped from my hand, shattering on the floor. On screen, the host's expression shifted to concerned fascination. Are you saying your sister is behind these allegations? I hate to say this publicly, Ryan continued, but her behavior has become increasingly erratic. She's been jealous of the foundation's success, and when we wouldn't hire her company for our events, my phone rang. Maya. He's lying, I said immediately. I know, but that's not why I'm calling. Check the files I sent, page 16. I pulled up Maya's research while Ryan continued destroying my reputation on national television. The document was a series of bank transfers, dates, amounts. I don't understand what I'm looking at. The scandal about the foundation? They leaked it themselves. Look at the timestamps. They knew exactly when those financial records would go public. They planned it. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. The surprise party, the convenient discovery of the financial irregularities, Ryan's perfect response, and now this interview. They're using me as a scapegoat, I whispered. It gets worse. Check your email. A new message popped up from Mr. Collins' office. Subject line, contract termination. The phone slipped from my fingers as I opened it. Professional concerns, recent developments, reputation risks. My doorbell rang, making me jump. Through the window, I saw news vans pulling up outside my house. Maya, I have to go. Don't talk to them. And Nevai, there's something else in those files you need to see. I hung up as pounding started on my door. My phone exploded with notifications, messages, calls, social media alerts. Through my window, I watched reporters setting up cameras. Another text from Maya. Check the transfer dates against your old marketing firm's closure. With shaking hands, I scrolled through the documents. The dates aligned perfectly. Large sums moving through shell companies, ending up in accounts that had pressured my former clients to drop me. All traced back to Ryan and Landon's holding company. The doorbell rang again. Through the peephole, I saw Landon standing there, alone. I know you're home, Neve, he called out. Let's talk about damage control. I pressed my back against the door, heart pounding. Go away. Can't do that. Your brother's concerned about you. We all are. His voice dripped with fake sincerity. The media's going to run with this story either way. We can help you frame it. Get you the help you need. The help I need? I laughed, the sound bordering on hysterical. Like the help you gave my marketing firm? A pause. I don't know what you think you found. I found everything, Landon. The transfers, the shell companies, the manufactured scandal, it's all here. Another pause, longer this time. When he spoke again, his voice had lost its false concern. Be smart about this, Neve. You're already looking unstable to the media. If you start throwing around conspiracy theories... My phone buzzed again. Maya. Don't tell them what you know. There's more. Call me. Think about your business. Landon continued. Your future. We can still fix this. I looked at my phone, at the email from Mr. Collins, at the growing media circus outside my house. Years of Ryan's manipulation, of being the family disappointment, of sacrificing everything while he took more and more. You're right, I said finally. We should talk about fixing this. Smart girl. I'll tell them you're coming out to make a statement. I watched through the window as Landon approached the reporters, my hands clenching into fists. They wanted a statement? I was about to give them one they'd never forget. The cafe was nearly empty when Aunt Clara slid into the booth across from me, her face drawn with worry. 3 days had passed since Ryan's interview, and my phone hadn't stopped ringing with canceled contracts. You shouldn't have come alone, she said, glancing around. Not after what happened at the press conference. I touched my split lip, still tender from where security had escorted me away from the microphones. The headlines had been brutal. Unstable sister attacks philanthropist brother. I needed to hear it from you, I said, about the adoption papers Maya found. Clara's hands trembled as she pulled out a yellowed envelope. I was there when your parents brought Ryan home. They made everyone swear to keep it quiet. Wanted him to feel like he truly belonged. 32 years, I whispered. All those times they said I needed to be more like my brother, and he wasn't even... Blood doesn't make family, Neve. No, lies make family, right? I pushed away my untouched coffee. Did Ryan know? He found out the summer before your marketing firm launched. Clara wouldn't meet my eyes. That's why The pieces clicked into place. Ryan's sudden interest in my business ventures, the sabotage, his desperate need to maintain control. My phone buzzed. Maya again. I'd been avoiding her calls since the press conference disaster, but this time I glimpsed the message preview. Collins called. You need to see this. I have to go. I stood, but Clara caught my wrist. There's more. The foundation scandal? It's worse than you think. Ryan isn't just moving money around. He's been using it to track down his birth parents. The world tilted sideways. What? He found them last month. They're dead. Car accident years ago. But they had another son, younger. My phone buzzed again. Maya. Urgent. Colin's exposing everything tomorrow. I don't understand, I said, though part of me was beginning to. What does this have to do with... Landon Reed isn't just Ryan's business partner, Clara said softly. He's Ryan's biological brother. The cafe door chimed. Through the window, I saw a familiar car pull up. Ryan's Mercedes. They've been watching me. Clara's voice shook. I shouldn't have told you, but after what they did to your business, your reputation... Get out the back, I interrupted, already moving. Now. We slipped through the kitchen just as Ryan entered the cafe. Through the back window, I watched him scan the empty booth, his face darkening. My phone rang. Mr. Collins himself this time. Miss Brooks. His voice was clipped. I've received some interesting documentation about your brother's foundation, and about what really happened to your marketing firm. Mr. Collins, I can explain. I'm holding a press conference tomorrow morning. Given our previous conversation, I thought you deserved advance notice. The line went dead. Beside me, Clara clutched her purse, looking terrified. They won't let you expose them, she whispered. They've worked too hard to keep this hidden. My phone lit up with a text from Ryan. We need to talk. Now. Another from Landon. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I thought about the years of manipulation, the calculated destruction of my business, the careful orchestration of my public humiliation, all to protect their secret, to maintain their control. What are you going to do? Clara asked. Through the window, I watched Ryan emerge from the cafe, speaking urgently into his phone. His perfectly crafted world was about to shatter, just like he'd shattered mine. I'm going to give them exactly what they want, I said, a plan forming. A family reunion. Neve, they're dangerous, the things they've done. Trust me. I pulled out my phone, typing a response to Ryan. I learned from the best. To Ryan, fine. Tonight, the foundation office, just us. His reply came instantly. 8 p.m. Come alone. I turned to Clara. I need everything you have. Documents, photos, anything about the adoption and their real parents. What are you planning? I thought about the security cameras in Ryan's office, about Maya's hacking skills, about the press conference tomorrow morning. The truth, I said, watching Ryan's car pull away. Whether they're ready for it or not, my phone buzzed one last time. Maya. Got into their system. You won't believe what I found. I smiled, feeling the weight of years of lies and manipulation finally shifting into something else. Something like power. Game on, brother, I whispered. Game on. The foundation's office gleamed with success and old money, all polished marble and mahogany. At 7:55 p.m., I stood in Ryan's empty office, Maya's latest findings burning a hole in my phone. The security cameras were already looping old footage. Her gift to me. "You're early." Ryan's voice made me jump. He stood in the doorway, Landon a shadow behind him. "Always so eager to please. Funny, I remember you teaching me that." I turned, noting how they positioned themselves between me and the door. "Where are the adoption papers, Ryan?" His smile flickered. "Aunt Clara's been talking. She's not the only one." I pulled out my phone, watching their reflections in the window. "Your birth parents' accident? Not very accidental, was it?" Landon stepped forward, but Ryan held up a hand. "What exactly do you think you know?" "I know you found them 6 months before they died. I know about the insurance policy that funded your first real business venture." I met his eyes in the glass. "I know they were going to expose you." "Careful, sister." The word dripped with venom. "You're treading dangerous ground." "Am I still your sister? Or just another loose end?" "You're whatever we need you to be." Landon cut in. "Like tomorrow's press conference. You're going to admit to fabricating evidence against the Foundation. Mental breakdown, stress-induced paranoia, take your pick." I laughed, the sound harsh in the quiet office. "That's not happening." "No?" Ryan moved closer. "What about Mr. Collins? Would be a shame if his wife learned about those private meetings you've been having." "You mean the ones where he showed me proof of your embezzlement?" "Proof?" Landon scoffed. "Your word against ours. Again. How did that work out last time?" My hand tightened around my phone. "Things are different now." "Are they?" Ryan's voice softened dangerously. "You're still the unstable little sister, desperate for attention. Who's going to believe you?" "The FBI might." I watched their reflections freeze. Maya found the offshore accounts. The real ones, not your decoys. She's been tracking your movements for weeks. Landon lunged forward, but I was ready. The taser in my purse connected with his chest, sending him sprawling. "You really think this ends with us in handcuffs?" Ryan hadn't moved, his calm more terrifying than Landon's aggression. "We own this city, Neve. The media, the police, even your precious Mr. Collins. One phone call and what? You'll destroy me again?" I turned to face him fully. "Go ahead. But first, explain something. Why keep me around at all? Why not destroy me completely years ago?" Something flickered in his eyes. Uncertainty? Fear? "Your family." "No, I'm your shield. Your perfect cover story. The unstable sister makes the perfect brother look even better, doesn't she?" "You don't understand." "I understand everything now. The adoption, the accident, the foundation. It's all about control. But you missed something, Ryan. You taught me too well." My phone buzzed. Maya's signal. Somewhere in the building, hard drives were being wiped, data transferred, evidence secured. "What did you do?" Landon groaned from the floor. "Me? Nothing." I stepped over him toward the door. "But in about 30 seconds, every major news outlet will receive proof of your involvement in your birth parents' death. Funny how karma works." Ryan's mask finally cracked. "You're bluffing." "Am I? You taught me everything about manipulation, remember? About playing the long game?" I reached the doorway. "Check your phone." They both grabbed their phones as headlines started flooding in. Ryan's face went ash white. "You can't..." "Can't what? Destroy my family? Ruin someone's life?" I smiled, feeling years of pain crystallize into something harder. "Watch me." "We'll destroy you." Landon snarled, struggling to his feet. "You already tried that. My turn now." Ryan stepped toward me, desperation replacing his usual control. "Neva, wait. We can fix this. Together, like real family." I paused in the doorway, thinking of all the years I'd wanted to hear those words. That's the difference between us, Ryan. I finally learned real family doesn't need fixing. As I walked away, their phones kept buzzing with notifications, each one another nail in their carefully constructed coffin. Tomorrow's press conference would still happen, but not the way they planned. Sometimes karma needs a little push, and I'd learned from the best how to make it hurt. The charity gala was my masterpiece of revenge, every detail calculated for maximum impact. Crystal champagne flutes caught the light just right, making the ballroom sparkle like broken glass. Perfect, considering what was about to shatter. "Everything's ready," Maya whispered, sliding past with the tablet. "Live stream connections confirmed. Press is in position." I nodded, watching Ryan work the crowd. He looked almost normal, as if last night's confrontation had never happened. Almost, except for the slight tremor in his hands as he lifted his glass. "Quite the turnout." Mr. Collins appeared at my elbow. "Though I'm surprised you're still running this event, given the circumstances." "Professional obligation," I said, the words tasting bitter. "Besides, the foundation's donors deserve to know where their money's really going." The lights dimmed right on schedule. Ryan took the stage, Landon hovering nearby like a well-dressed shadow. "Thank you all for coming," Ryan began, his charm dialed to maximum. "Tonight we celebrate." The screens behind him flickered to life. Not with the planned foundation video, but with security footage of Ryan meeting his birth parents. Audio crackled through the speakers. "You can't threaten me." Ryan's recorded voice filled the room. "I've worked too hard." The footage cut out. Every screen went black. "Technical difficulties," Landon announced smoothly, but I was already moving toward the control room. Maya met me halfway. "They've hijacked the system. Someone must have warned them." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Check your email." The attachment was a video. Security footage from my office last week. Me, meeting with Mr. Collins, discussing plans to expose Ryan. But the audio had been altered, making it sound like we were conspiring to embezzle from his company. "Clever." Ryan's voice behind me made my blood freeze. "Using my own tactics against me, but you forgot something crucial." The ballroom's screens came back to life, this time showing doctored footage of me accepting bribes, falsifying documents, all perfectly edited to seem real. "What did you do?" I whispered. "Insurance policy." Landon appeared on my other side. "Been collecting it for years, just in case." The room erupted in murmurs as more footage played. Years of carefully edited moments, all painting me as the corrupt one, the manipulator, the fraud. "Miss Brooks," Mr. Collins's voice cut through the chaos. "I think we need to discuss the terms of our arrangement." "This isn't— I can explain." "Save it for the authorities," he said coldly. "They're very interested in these recordings." Security guards appeared at the doors, not the ones I'd hired, Ryan's people. Maya was nowhere in sight. "You really thought you could beat me at my own game?" Ryan's whisper was almost gentle. "I invented these plays, Neve. Every move you made, I was 3 steps ahead." "The birth parents were a trap. I knew Aunt Clara would tell you. Knew you'd try to use it." He smiled, that perfect practice smile. "Thank you for being so predictable." The guards were moving through the crowd now. My phone buzzed again. Maya. "They're blocking all outgoing communications. Can't upload the real evidence." "You have a choice," Landon said quietly. "Take the fall publicly, claim mental instability, or face federal charges. Either way, your reputation is finished." The room spun slightly. Everything I'd planned, every piece of evidence I'd gathered, all turned against me with surgical precision. Even the venue's security cameras were under their control, recording what would look like my public meltdown. "Why?" I managed. "Why go to all this trouble?" "Because you needed to learn." Ryan's voice hardened. "Family protects family. Cross that line and there are consequences." The guards were getting closer. My phone kept buzzing. Probably Maya trying to warn me, but it didn't matter now. Ryan had won. Again. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ryan addressed the crowd, his voice carrying perfectly. "I'm afraid my sister has been struggling with some issues. Tonight's unfortunate display." I ran. Past the guards, through the kitchen, out into the cold night air. Behind me, I heard Ryan's voice on the speakers, spinning the story perfectly. The tragic tale of a jealous sister's mental breakdown. My phone lit up one last time. An email from my biggest client canceling all contracts. As I stood there, watching my career and reputation crumble in real time, I finally understood what Ryan had known all along. In the game of revenge, the winner isn't the one with the truth. It's the one who tells the better story. And my brother had just written my ending. 3 days after my public humiliation, I sat in my empty office, boxing up client files. The last remnants of my career, packed away in cardboard. My phone buzzed. Maya's 20th call today. This time, I answered. "Turn on the news," she said without preamble. Now, I flicked on the small TV I used for event coverage. Ryan stood at a podium outside his foundation's headquarters, Landon by his side. "In light of recent events," Ryan was saying, "we're announcing an expansion of our charitable work. The new mental health initiative will help families dealing with..." The screen went black. Then blue. Then filled with security footage. Not the doctored versions from the gala, but raw feeds. Ryan and Landon in their office discussing the manufactured scandal. Planning my downfall. Destroying evidence. "What is this?" I whispered into the phone. "Remember Mr. Lee? Your neighbor with the obsessive security system?" Maya's voice held a hint of triumph. "Turns out he caught some interesting footage of Ryan and Landon breaking into your office last week. To plant evidence." A pounding on my office door made me jump. Through the frosted glass, I saw Ryan's silhouette. "They can't stop the feed," Maya continued. "It's going to every major network, social media platform, and news outlet simultaneously. I'll call you back." The door burst open. Ryan's perfect facade had cracked completely, his face twisted with rage. "Where is it?" he demanded. "The server controlling the broadcast." "I don't know what you're talking about." I stood slowly, my hand sliding into my desk drawer where the final piece of evidence waited. "Having technical difficulties with your press conference?" "This is your last chance." Landon appeared behind him, phone in hand. "Our IT team can trace the source." "To where? Maya's network of proxy servers? Good luck." I pulled out a USB drive. "Looking for this?" Ryan lunged forward, but I was ready. "Careful, brother. One wrong move and every financial record, every doctored document, every secret you've buried goes public, including the real story about your birth parents." "You're bluffing." But his voice wavered. "We destroyed everything. Did you? Or did you destroy what you thought was everything?" I smiled, channeling his own practice charm. "You taught me well, remember? Always have a backup plan." "We'll recover," Landon said, but he was watching the TV where more damning footage played. "We always do." "Not this time." I held up my phone, showing them the incoming messages. "Mr. Collins sends his regards. Seems he doesn't appreciate being manipulated. The FBI is very interested in his statement." Ryan's mask cracked completely. "You don't understand what you've done. The people we owe money to? The ones you were paying off with charity funds?" I stepped closer. "Maybe you should have thought about that before you tried to destroy me. Again." "We're family," he tried, desperation replacing manipulation. "No, Ryan, we're not. We never were." I tossed the USB drive to Landon. "That's blank, by the way. The real files went live an hour ago." The sound of sirens filtered through my office windows. Ryan's phone buzzed continuously. Probably his lawyers, his investors, his carefully cultivated network all abandoning ship. "You could have had everything," he said quietly, "if you just played your role." "That was your mistake," I replied, thinking I was still playing a role. The sirens grew louder. Landon grabbed Ryan's arm. "We need to go, now." "It won't stick," Ryan said, but his confidence was gone. "We'll find a way to spin this." "Goodbye, Ryan." I sat back down at my desk, starting to unpack the boxes. "Give my regards to our parents. I'm sure they'll find a way to blame this on me too." They fled as red and blue lights filled the windows. I watched them go, feeling strangely empty. On TV, their carefully constructed world continued to unravel in high definition. My phone buzzed. Mr. Collins. My wife's 50th birthday still needs planning, if you're interested. Then Maya. Need help unpacking those boxes? I looked around my office at the career I'd built, lost and reclaimed. At the evidence of a life lived in someone else's shadow, now finally stepping into the light. Actually, I texted back, I think it's time for a renovation. Outside, karma was finally catching up with Ryan and Landon. But inside, for the first time in my life, I felt free of their shadow. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone else's world, it's about rebuilding your own. The Collins anniversary celebration sparkled with understated elegance. My first major event since Ryan's arrest. No crystal champagne flutes this time. Sometimes simple wine glasses tell a better story. Perfect, as always, Mr. Collins said, watching his wife laugh with guests. Though I admit, I had doubts after everything. So did I admitted, adjusting a centerpiece. The newspaper on my desk that morning had featured Ryan and Landon's sentencing. 5 to 7 years, plus restitution to their victims. My phone buzzed. Aunt Clara. Your parents want to meet. To explain. I slipped the phone away unanswered. Some explanations came too late. Miss Brooks? Sophie, the venue owner, approached with a tablet. There's someone asking to see you. Says it's urgent. In the venue's office, Landon's sister waited. She looked smaller somehow, without her brother's shadow looming nearby. I found this. She held out a worn envelope, while clearing out their office. Inside was a photograph I'd never seen. Ryan, maybe 7 years old, holding a baby. Me. On the back, in unfamiliar handwriting. My children, finally together. It was in their birth mother's diary. Landon's sister said quietly. She wanted to adopt you too, but your parents wouldn't give you up. Ryan knew. All these years he knew you were supposed to be his real sister. The photo trembled in my hands. Why are you showing me this? Because you deserve to know why he couldn't let you go. Why he had to control everything. She stood to leave. He loved you, in his way. He just didn't know how to love without owning. Through the office window, I watched the party continue. Dozens of people celebrating love that had lasted through decades of choices, mistakes, and forgiveness. Tell him, I said finally. I hope he finds what he's looking for. Back in the ballroom, Maya intercepted me. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. Maybe I have. I handed her the photo. Add it to the archive? She nodded, understanding. We'd been documenting everything, not for revenge anymore, but for truth. Sometimes healing started with having proof that your pain was real. Neve? Mr. Collins called out. We're ready for the toast. I moved through the crowd, past faces that had once witnessed my humiliation at Ryan's gala, now smiling with genuine warmth. Amazing how quickly people forgot old scandals when new ones emerged. The microphone felt different in my hand this time. No revenge to orchestrate, no lies to expose. Just a moment to celebrate something real. To love that endures. I raised my simple wine glass. And to the families we choose. Later, as the last guests departed, I found the photo on my desk. Maya had added a sticky note. Some stories don't need an ending to be over. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Aunt Clara. He asked about you today. Said he's sorry. I thought about Ryan sitting in his cell, finally facing a truth he couldn't manipulate. About Landon, separated from his partner in crime, learning what loyalty really meant. About our parents, left to question every choice that led to this moment. The venue's lights dimmed automatically, leaving me in comfortable shadow. I picked up the photo, studying the joy on young Ryan's face as he held his baby sister. The promise of what could have been. I didn't tear it up. Didn't file it away with the evidence. Instead, I left it on Sophie's desk with a note. For your wall of memories. Sometimes the best stories are the ones we choose not to finish. Outside, the night air carried the scent of approaching rain. Maya waited by her car. Ready to go? The team's waiting to celebrate. I looked back at the venue one last time. At the simple elegance that had replaced crystal perfection. At the honest success built from the ashes of revenge. Actually, I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in years. I think I'll walk. Sometimes the heaviest shadows are the ones we choose to carry, and sometimes letting them go is the sweetest revenge of all. I stepped into the night, leaving the photo and its unfinished story behind. Ahead, the city lights beckoned with possibilities that had nothing to do with the past. It was time to plan something new.
The crystal champagne flute shattered in my hand, sending shards across the marble floor of my brother's new mansion. Blood trickled down my palm, but I barely noticed. My eyes were fixed on Jessica's face as she announced her pregnancy to our stunned family gathering. I'm Maya, and I know when someone is lying. 15 years of raising 3 boys has given me a sixth sense about deception. The way Jessica's fingers twitched against her designer dress, how her smile never quite reached her eyes. Everything screamed false. Congratulations! Mark, my husband, stepped forward to hug Alex while shooting me a warning glance. He knew my tells too. The slight tilt of my head, the way I pressed my lips together, signs I was about to say something I shouldn't. This calls for more champagne, Alex declared, beaming with pride. My brother, the successful tech entrepreneur, finally getting everything he wanted. A baby to complete his perfect life. Tyler, my middle son, appeared at my side with a napkin. Mom, you're bleeding. His quiet voice anchored me back to reality. I wrapped the cloth around my palm, watching the red bloom through the white fabric. When are you due? I asked Jessica, keeping my voice light. She hesitated for a fraction too long. March, she said, one hand resting protectively over her still flat stomach. Wrong move. I'd been pregnant 3 times. No woman that early touches her stomach that way unless she's acting. Ryan, my eldest, was watching the exchange with narrowed eyes. At 18, he had inherited my bullshit detector. Lucas, my youngest, had already retreated to a corner with his phone, typical 14-year-old behavior. We should toast, Mark announced, trying to diffuse the tension crackling through the room. To Alex and Jessica's growing family. Everyone raised their glasses except me. I was too busy watching Jessica's face as she pretended to sip her champagne. The glass never touched her lips. Actually, Alex cleared his throat. We have another announcement. He glanced at Jessica, who gave him an encouraging nod. We've been thinking about adoption, too. Having a bigger family, maybe? The room went silent. I felt Mark's hand squeeze my shoulder. We thought, Jessica continued, her voice honey-sweet, that since you have 3 wonderful boys, Maya... She let the sentence hang there, heavy with implication. The cut on my palm throbbed. What exactly are you suggesting? Nothing concrete, Alex jumped in. Just floating the idea. Ryan's heading to college soon and we have so much space here. Stop. The word came out sharper than I intended. Just stop right there. Maya, Mark warned softly. But I was already moving toward Jessica, who took an involuntary step back. First a miracle pregnancy, now you want one of my sons? What's your game? I don't know what you mean, Jessica's voice wavered. We just want to share our blessings. Bullshit. The word echoed through the massive living room. You've barely spoken 10 words to my boys in the 2 years you've been with Alex. Now suddenly you want to play mom? That's enough. Alex stepped between us, his face flushed. You're out of line, Maya. Am I? I looked at my brother, really looked at him. The dark circles under his eyes, the slight tremor in his hands. What's really going on here, Alex? Before he could answer, Jessica suddenly pressed a hand to her mouth and rushed from the room, the perfect excuse to end the conversation. I should check on her, Alex muttered, following his wife. Mark came up behind me, wrapping an arm around my waist. Well, that was quite a party. I watched my 3 sons huddled together, whispering. Ryan's protective stance, Tyler's concerned frown, Lucas's defiant glare. My boys. My family. Something's not right, I said quietly, and I'm going to find out what it is. Just don't do anything rash, Mark replied, but we both knew it was too late for that warning. The game was already in motion, and I intended to win.
3 days after the disastrous pregnancy announcement, I stood in Alex's empty kitchen, staring at the prescription bottle I'd found hidden behind the coffee maker. The label had been partially scratched off, but I could make out enough to know these weren't vitamins. "Looking for something?" Jessica's voice made me jump. She leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching me with those calculating eyes. I held up the bottle. "Fertility medications, interesting place to keep them. You shouldn't snoop through other people's things." Her voice was steady, but her fingers dug into her arms. "And you shouldn't lie about being pregnant to my brother." The silence stretched between us like a rubber band about to snap. From the living room, I could hear Mark and Alex laughing about something, the sound jarring against our tension. "You don't understand," Jessica finally said. "Alex needs this." "Needs what? A fake pregnancy? Or one of my children?" She moved closer, lowering her voice. "He's sick, Maya. Really sick. The doctors gave him 6 months, maybe less." The bottle nearly slipped from my hand. "You're lying." "Am I? Why do you think he's so desperate for an heir? For family?" Her perfect mask cracked slightly. "He won't tell you because he can't stand the idea of you pitying him." If this is another manipulation, Ryan already knows. The words hit me like a physical blow. "What?" "Your perfect eldest son has been spending time with us, helping Alex get his affairs in order. He understands what's at stake." My phone buzzed, a text from Ryan. "Coming over to Uncle Alex's. Need to talk to you." "You stay away from my son," I hissed, but Jessica just smiled. "He came to us, Maya, because he sees the bigger picture, the legacy Alex could leave him, the opportunities." The front door opened and Ryan's voice carried through the house. "Mom? In here," I called, not taking my eyes off Jessica. Ryan entered the kitchen, freezing when he saw us. At 18, he looked so much like Alex at that age, the same determined jaw, the same ambitious glint in his eyes. "I see you two are talking," he said carefully. "Your aunt was just explaining how you've been helping Uncle Alex." The words tasted bitter. "Behind my back." "Mom, don't." I held up my hand. "Just tell me if it's true, about Alex being sick." Ryan's silence was answer enough. Jessica slipped past us, pausing at the door. "I'll give you two a moment." Once she was gone, Ryan slumped against the counter. "I wanted to tell you, but Uncle Alex made me promise." "How long have you known?" 2 months. He collapsed during one of our lunch meetings. I drove him to the hospital." The bottle in my hand suddenly felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. "And the adoption idea? Was that yours or hers?" "His. He wants to make sure his company stays in the family." "Jessica, she just wants what's best for him." I laughed, harsh and hollow. "Best for him or best for her?" "Why do you hate her so much?" "Because she's lying about something. I can feel it." I set the bottle down carefully. "And now she's using you to manipulate this situation." "Nobody's using me." Ryan straightened, looking more like his uncle than ever. "I'm making my own choices." "Are you? Or are you just seeing dollar signs and opportunities?" The moment the words left my mouth, I knew I'd gone too far. Ryan's face hardened. "You don't get to judge me, not when you've spent years telling us to look out for family. Well, Uncle Alex's family too." He stormed out, leaving me alone with the damning evidence of Jessica's deception and the weight of too many secrets. Mark appeared in the doorway. "Everything okay?" Ryan just left looking pretty upset. I picked up the fertility medication bottle and handed it to him. "We need to talk about Alex, Jessica, and what they're really planning for our family." His eyes widened as he read the label, then looked at me. "What do you want to do?" "First, I'm going to find out exactly what kind of game Jessica's playing. Then," I took the bottle back, clutching it tight, "I'm going to make sure she loses." The private investigator's file landed on my kitchen table with a dull thud. "Jessica Mitchell doesn't exist," he said, "at least not before 2019. I flipped through the documents, each page revealing another lie. What was her name before? Sarah Winters, then Rachel Cooper, then Elizabeth James. He tapped different photos, showing the same face under different names. She's got a pattern. Wealthy men, short marriages, generous divorces. My coffee went cold as I absorbed the implications. 3 previous marriages, each ending with substantial settlements. Each husband mysteriously ill during the divorce proceedings. My phone buzzed. Tyler. Mom, something's wrong with Uncle Alex. At hospital, come quick. The drive to the hospital was a blur of red lights and racing thoughts. I found Tyler in the waiting room, his usual calm demeanor cracked. He collapsed during lunch with Ryan, he said. They won't tell us anything because we're not immediate family. Jessica's in there with him. Where's your brother? Ryan's, with her. The way he said it made my skin crawl. I spotted them down the hall, Jessica and Ryan heads bent together in conversation. The sight of my son standing so close to her, nodding at whatever poison she was whispering, made my hands shake. Mrs. Wilson? A doctor approached, chart in hand. Your brother's asking for you. Alex looked small in the hospital bed, tubes snaking from his arms. Hey, sis. He managed a weak smile. Sorry for the drama. Cut the bullshit, I said, closing the door. I know about Jessica's other husbands. His face didn't register surprise, just resignation. How long have you known? Long enough. The question is, how long have you known? He closed his eyes. Since before the wedding. I hired someone to investigate her past after I found some inconsistencies in her story. And you married her anyway? Because I loved her. Love her. He coughed, harsh and wet, and because by then the cancer was already stage 4. The truth hit like a physical blow. You're not just sick, you're dying. 6 months was optimistic. It's spreading faster than they thought. His hand trembled as he reached for water. Jessica knows everything. About her past, about my prognosis. We made a deal. A deal. She stays, plays the grieving widow, gets her settlement. In exchange, she helps secure Ryan's future in the company. My blood ran cold. You're using my son as a pawn? I'm securing his future, my legacy. Alex's voice strengthened with conviction. Ryan has the drive, the intelligence, with Jessica's guidance. Her manipulation, you mean? I leaned closer. She's done this before, Alex. 3 times. And each husband died under suspicious circumstances during divorce proceedings. He waved off my concern. Those were different. She loves me. Like she loved the others? Did you even check how they died? A nurse knocked, entering with medication. I stepped back, watching Jessica slip in behind her, Ryan hovering in the doorway. Everything okay in here? Jessica's voice dripped concern, but her eyes were sharp. Just fine, I replied, matching her tone. Alex was telling me about your arrangement. Something flickered across her perfect mask. Fear? Anger? She recovered quickly, moving to Alex's side. Darling, you should rest. Mom, Ryan started, but I cut him off. Not now. I headed for the door, pausing beside my son. We'll talk about this at home. In the hallway, Tyler waited with Lucas, who had finally arrived. Is Uncle Alex okay? I looked at my younger sons, untouched by Jessica's influence, and made a decision. No, he's not, and neither is your brother. What do you mean? Lucas asked. Through the window, I watched Jessica adjust Alex's pillows, playing the devoted wife while Ryan looked on admiringly. The perfect picture of family devotion, except I'd seen the autopsy reports of her previous husbands. All 3 had died from seemingly natural causes, their symptoms matching Alex's current condition perfectly. It means, I said, pulling my sons close, that we're going to save your uncle and your brother, whether they want to be saved or not. How? Tyler asked. I thought of the private investigator's file, of Jessica's pattern, of my son being drawn into her web. By destroying Jessica before she can destroy our family. The boys exchanged worried looks, but I was already planning my next move. Sometimes, to protect the ones you love, you have to embrace the darkness they're too naive to see. The toxicology report sat unopened on my laptop screen for 20 minutes before I found the courage to click. 3 previous husbands, 3 similar patterns of declining health. Trace amounts of thallium found during the final autopsy of husband number 2, dismissed as environmental exposure. My phone lit up with a text from Ryan. Meeting Jessica for lunch to discuss Uncle Alex's treatment options. Don't try to stop me. I closed the laptop and grabbed my keys, but Mark blocked the doorway. Before you go charging in there, we need to talk. She's poisoning my brother, Mark, and our son is walking right into her web. I know. He held up a manila envelope. The private investigator found something else, about Ryan. Inside were photos. Ryan and Jessica at various restaurants, coffee shops, his hand on her arm, her fingers brushing his shoulder. The timestamps went back months, long before Alex's diagnosis. It gets worse, Mark said quietly. Check the bank statements. $10,000 transferred from Jessica's personal account to a new account in Ryan's name. The date matched Alex's first hospital admission. My hands shook as I dialed Ryan's number. Straight to voicemail. He's not at lunch with Jessica, Tyler said from the stairs, making me jump. He's at the hospital with Uncle Alex. I just got off the phone with Lucas. He's there too. Why didn't they tell me? Tyler's face darkened. Because Jessica convinced them you're trying to sabotage Uncle Alex's recovery. She showed them emails supposedly from you to his board of directors, trying to have him declared mentally unfit. Those are fake. I know, Mom. That's why I hacked her laptop. Mark and I stared at our middle son, who shrugged. What? Someone had to do something while you were playing detective. He pulled out his phone, showing us screenshots. She's been planning this for over a year. The adoption idea? That was Ryan's suggestion, not Uncle Alex's. He and Jessica, they've been having an affair, I finished, the words tasting like ash. Not exactly. Tyler scrolled through more messages. She promised to make him CEO after Uncle Alex dies. Said she could convince the board if Ryan played along with her plan. Mark cursed under his breath. She's manipulating both brothers. 3, Tyler corrected. Lucas is involved too. She's been helping him apply to private schools behind your back, promising to pay his tuition if he supports her story about your mental state. The room spun slightly. I gripped the counter, trying to process the layers of betrayal. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Your brother's condition is deteriorating. Shame about the mix-up with his medication. But then, accidents happen when family members interfere with treatment plans. Mom, Tyler's voice seemed far away. What are we going to do? I looked at the photos again. My eldest son, my dying brother, my youngest being pulled into Jessica's elaborate scheme, each of them thinking they were getting what they wanted, none seeing the poison she was feeding them all. We're going to give her exactly what she wants, I said finally. Mark's eyebrows shot up. You can't be serious. Tyler, can you get into her banking records? He nodded slowly. Already have. She's got offshore accounts under her previous names. Good, because we're going to help her kill my brother. What? Both Mark and Tyler exclaimed. I picked up the toxicology report. She's careful, patient. Each death looked natural because she took her time. But if Alex dies too quickly, with too much poison in his system, the police will investigate, Tyler finished, understanding dawning on his face. And when they do, they'll find the evidence of her previous murders, along with proof that she's been manipulating my children. I turned to Mark. Unless you have a better idea? He studied my face for a long moment. You're talking about letting your brother die to catch her. I'm talking about sacrificing one life to save 3. My voice cracked. Because if we don't stop her now, Ryan will spend years under her control. Lucas will be trapped in her web, and who knows how many other families she'll destroy. Tyler's phone chimed. Ryan's texting. Uncle Alex is asking for you, says it's urgent. I grabbed my keys again, this time with purpose. Time to give Jessica her final performance. You two know what to do. As I drove to the hospital, I tried not to think about how revenge had twisted me into someone who could plot her own brother's death. But sometimes, fighting monsters means becoming one yourself. The family dinner felt like sitting on a powder keg. Alex barely touched his food, while Jessica kept refilling his wine glass with practiced care. Ryan sat at her right hand, playing the devoted nephew, while Lucas sulked at the far end of the table. Only Tyler watched everything with the same calculating gaze I'd come to rely on. The doctors are very optimistic, Jessica announced, her hand resting possessively on Alex's shoulder. The new treatment protocol is showing promise. Which doctors? The words slipped out before I could stop them. The ones who prescribed the medication I found in your drawer? The crystal wine glass in Jessica's hand trembled slightly. I don't know what you're implying. Mom, Ryan warned, but I was done playing nice. 3 previous husbands, Jessica, all dead within 2 years of marriage, all with similar symptoms to Alex's current condition. The silence that followed was deafening. Alex's fork clattered against his plate. That's ridiculous, Jessica laughed, but her eyes were sharp as razors. Ryan, tell your mother she's being paranoid. Ryan cleared his throat. Mom's been under a lot of stress lately. Maybe we should show them the transfer records. I cut in. The ones proving she's been paying you to support her story. The color drained from Ryan's face. Lucas sat up straighter, suddenly interested. What transfer records? Alex's voice was barely a whisper. Jessica stood abruptly, wine sloshing over the rim of her glass. I won't sit here and listen to these accusations. Alex needs rest, not this toxic environment. Sit down. Tyler's command surprised everyone. He pulled out his phone, sliding it across the table to Alex. Everything's there. The offshore accounts, the previous marriages, the suspicious deaths, and the messages between Ryan and Jessica planning how to manipulate you. Ryan lunged for the phone, but Mark caught his arm. Don't, my husband said quietly. It's time for truth. Alex scrolled through the evidence, his hands shaking. Ryan, is this true? Uncle Alex, I can explain. He was trying to protect your legacy. Jessica interrupted smoothly. Unlike some people who only want to tear this family apart. By sleeping with my nephew? The words hung in the air like poison. Jessica's mask cracked. That's not, we never... The hotel receipts suggest otherwise, Tyler said, his voice cold. Lucas stood up so suddenly his chair toppled backward. You promised me a future. You said if I helped you, you'd make sure I got into Westbrook Academy. Lucas, quiet, Ryan snapped, but the damage was done. All this time, Alex whispered, while I was planning our future, planning to give you everything, I did it for us. Jessica reached for him, but he recoiled. Everything I did was to secure our position, our legacy. By poisoning me, like the others? She froze. What others? The toxicology reports, I said quietly. From husband number 2. Thallium poisoning is pretty distinctive. Jessica's composure shattered. She grabbed her wine glass and hurled it at me, but Tyler was faster, pulling me aside. The glass shattered against the wall, leaving a blood-red stain. You've ruined everything, she screamed, advancing toward me. I had it all planned perfectly. Mom, stop her, Lucas yelled, but Ryan was already moving, putting himself between Jessica and me. Don't, he said, his voice breaking. It's over. The look she gave him could have frozen hell. You ungrateful little... Alex's coughing fit interrupted her tirade. He doubled over, gasping for breath, blood speckling his napkin. Call an ambulance, Mark shouted, rushing to Alex's side. Jessica used the chaos to bolt for the door, but I was ready. As she passed, I grabbed her arm, spinning her around. You're not going anywhere. Her laugh was hollow. You think you've won. Look at your family, Maya. Look what your precious truth has done. Ryan's future is ruined. Lucas's dreams are shattered. And Alex? She glanced at my brother's convulsing form. Well, the damage is already done. I made sure of that this morning. She twisted free and ran, leaving me torn between pursuing her and helping Alex. The sound of sirens grew closer as I watched my family fracture before my eyes. Ryan knelt beside his uncle, tears streaming down his face. Lucas huddled in a corner while Tyler called the police. Mark caught my eye across the chaos, and I saw my own horror reflected there. We'd exposed the truth, but at what cost? And somewhere out there, Jessica was escaping with all our secrets, all our weaknesses, and nothing left to lose. The game wasn't over. It was just beginning. The hospital corridor stretched endlessly before me as I followed the trail of blood drops, tiny crimson breadcrumbs leading to my brother's room. Alex had collapsed again during his attempted escape, proving Jessica's morning dosage had been particularly lethal. He's asking for you, the nurse said, but her expression suggested I shouldn't expect much time. Inside, machines beeped in irregular rhythm. Tyler sat in the corner, laptop open, frantically tracking Jessica's financial movements. Mark stood guard at the door while Ryan paced like a caged animal. Where's Lucas? I asked. Gone, Ryan spat, following Jessica's breadcrumbs about some private school connection. He won't answer his phone. Alex's hand trembled as he reached for me. The safe, he whispered, behind the Kandinsky in my study. Everything you need. His monitors screamed. Medical staff flooded the room, pushing us out. Through the chaos, I caught Ryan slipping something into his pocket, a piece of paper from Alex's bedside table. What did you take? He met my gaze with Jessica's same cold calculation. Insurance. Against what? Against you destroying everything Uncle Alex built. He backed away. You think you're protecting this family? You're tearing it apart. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. The text contained only an address and 4 words. Lucas says hello, sister dear. Tyler looked up from his laptop. Mom, Jessica just emptied all of Alex's accounts. Every penny gone. The doctor emerged, his face grave. We've stabilized him, but the toxicology report shows massive organ failure. Whatever he was given will kill him, I finished. That's the point. My phone buzzed again. A photo this time. Lucas sitting in what looked like a private school office. Jessica's manicured hand visible on his shoulder. She's at Westbrook Academy, Tyler said, already pulling up the location. But Mom, there's something else. The school's financial director, he was married to Jessica's first victim. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. She's not running. This was her plan all along. Get Alex's money, take Lucas, destroy what's left of our family. Ryan. Mark's shout made us turn. Our eldest son was sprinting down the corridor, Alex's paper clutched in his hand. Let him go, I said, watching him disappear. He's made his choice. What now? Tyler asked. Now? I pulled out my car keys. Now we finish this. Mark, stay with Alex. Tyler, I need everything you can find on Westbrook Academy and Jessica's connection to it. And call the police. Tell them where to find her. Mom, Tyler's voice cracked slightly. What if we're too late? What if Lucas? Don't. The word came out sharper than intended. Your brother's not the only one she's trying to destroy. This is about legacy, about family. She's taken my brother, corrupted Ryan, and now she's using Lucas to complete her revenge. Revenge for what? For being the family she could never have. The realization hit me as I said it. Every husband, every manipulation, she's been trying to create the perfect family, then destroying it when it proves imperfect. My phone buzzed one final time. A video. Lucas staring into the camera, tears streaming down his face. Mom, I'm sorry. She says if you don't bring Alex's new will to Westbrook within the hour, she'll make sure Ryan takes the fall for everything. The affairs, the poison, all of it. She has proof. The screen went black. Tyler's fingers flew across his keyboard. Mom, the police are on their way, but they won't make it in time. I checked my watch. How long can you keep Alex stable? Mark's face darkened. You can't be serious. Jessica wants to destroy our family? Fine, let's give her what she wants. I pulled out my own copy of Alex's will, the one she didn't know about. But this time, we play by my rules. Maya. Mark grabbed my arm. This isn't about revenge anymore. This is about survival. No, I said, shaking him off. This is about justice. For Alex, for her other husbands, for our sons. I headed for the door. Sometimes the only way to protect your family is to be willing to lose them. Behind me, the monitors tracking Alex's heartbeat grew fainter, like a countdown to what was coming. I had less than an hour to save one son, stop another from destroying himself, and prevent a murderer from completing her masterpiece of destruction. And somewhere in the gathering darkness, Jessica waited, thinking she'd finally won. She had no idea what a mother protecting her children was capable of. It was time to show her. Westbrook Academy's empty hallways echoed with my footsteps as I approached the headmaster's office. Through the frosted glass, I could make out 3 silhouettes: Jessica, Lucas, and Ryan. Of course, Ryan would be here. He'd chosen his side. Right on time, Jessica called out as I entered. She sat behind the headmaster's desk like she belonged there, Lucas rigid beside her, Ryan leaning against the window with Alex's papers clutched in his hand. Where's the real headmaster? I asked, though I already knew. Indisposed. Food poisoning, such a shame. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. The will? I placed a manila envelope on the desk. First, let Lucas go. Mom, Lucas's voice cracked. I'm sorry, I thought... Quiet, Jessica snapped. Ryan, verify the documents. As Ryan reached for the envelope, I noticed something odd about his stance. The slight tremor in his hands, the way he wouldn't meet my eyes. He was scared. It's fake, he said after scanning the papers. This isn't Uncle Alex's signature. Jessica's facade cracked slightly. Where's the real will? With the police. Tyler's voice came from my phone in my pocket on speaker, along with the evidence from your previous husband's deaths. They're on their way. You're bluffing. But Jessica's hand slipped into her desk drawer. The headmaster didn't have food poisoning, did he? I took a step forward. He recognized you from your first husband's case. That's why you needed him gone. Mom, Ryan warned, but I kept going. 3 husbands, 3 schools, 3 destroyed families. Always targeting men with sons, always playing the perfect stepmother, until they discovered the truth. Jessica pulled out a syringe, grabbing Lucas. Stay back. That's thallium in there, isn't it? Same thing you gave Alex this morning. Ryan's been helping you administer it for weeks, hasn't he? Lucas struggled, but Jessica held firm. Ryan moved toward them, his face unreadable. You don't understand. Jessica's voice shook. I gave them everything. Every husband, every family. I tried to be perfect, to create something lasting, but they always chose their blood relatives over me. Always. So you killed them? I set them free, and I gave their sons better opportunities, better futures. By manipulating them, by destroying their families, by saving them from mothers like you. She pressed the syringe against Lucas's neck. So protective, so righteous. But you're suffocating them. Ryan understands. Don't you, Ryan? But Ryan wasn't looking at Jessica anymore. He was looking at his phone, at the text I knew Tyler had just sent him. Proof that Jessica had already transferred Alex's money to an account in her name alone, leaving Ryan with nothing. You promised, he whispered. You said we'd build something together, that I'd inherit. Oh, grow up, Jessica spat. You were just like the others, so desperate for approval, so easy to mold. The syringe trembled against Lucas's skin. One push, and my youngest would suffer the same slow death as Alex. Mom, Lucas whimpered, and in that moment I saw my opening. Jessica, I said softly, there's something you should know about the will. She hesitated. What? Alex changed it last week, left everything to you, no conditions, it's in his safe at home. You're lying. Check your phone. Tyler just sent you the proof. As she reached for her phone with her free hand, Ryan moved. In one fluid motion, he grabbed the syringe and pulled Lucas away. Jessica lunged forward, but I was ready. The punch connected with her jaw, sending her sprawling across the desk. That's for my brother, I said as she struggled to rise. And this, I grabbed her hair, slamming her head against the wood, is for my sons. Sirens wailed in the distance. Ryan held Lucas as he sobbed, the syringe safely out of reach. Mom, Ryan's voice broke. I didn't know. I thought... I know. I kept Jessica pinned as footsteps thundered down the hallway. We'll talk about it later. As the police burst in, Jessica started laughing. You think this is over? Your precious family is already destroyed. Look at them. The trust broken, the bonds shattered. I've already won. I leaned close as they handcuffed her. No, Jessica. You just taught my sons what real family looks like. It's not perfect. It's not even always good. But we protect our own, even from themselves. The police led her away, her laughter echoing through the halls like a dying curse. My sons stood together, broken but alive, and I realized that sometimes victory looks a lot like survival. The key felt heavy in my hand as I unlocked Alex's front door. His house still smelled like him, coffee and expensive cologne, but the silence was deafening. The doctors had given him days, maybe hours. Jessica's final dose had done its work. Ryan stood in the doorway of the study, watching me gather Alex's papers. The police want my statement tomorrow. Tell them the truth. I pulled open the safe behind the Kandinsky. All of it. Even about helping her poison him? My hands stilled on the documents. Especially that. Lucas appeared in the doorway, his face tight. They found more victims. 7 husbands, not 3. Different names, different cities. 8, Tyler corrected, joining us with his laptop. Just found another one from 2015. She was getting better at hiding them. The safe's contents spread across Alex's desk like a roadmap of destruction. Bank statements, property deeds, and a letter addressed to me in my brother's shaking handwriting. I knew, I read aloud, about Jessica, about Ryan, about everything. But I thought I could protect them both. Forgive me, little sister. Some legacies aren't worth preserving. Ryan made a choked sound and left the room. Lucas followed, but Tyler lingered. The money's gone, he said quietly. She transferred everything before we caught her. Even with the evidence, it'll take years to recover. I closed the safe. We don't need it. But Uncle Alex wanted family. Real family. Not whatever twisted version Jessica sold him. The front door opened, and Mark's footsteps echoed through the house. Maya? The hospital called. I nodded, unable to speak. We all knew what that meant. There's something else, Mark continued. They found this in Jessica's cell. He held out a crumpled note. The handwriting was elegant, controlled. You think you've won, sister dear? Look closer at your precious family. Ryan wasn't the only one I taught my tricks to. Some poisons take years to surface. Some betrayals never heal. Sweet dreams. Lucas appeared behind me, reading over my shoulder. His face went pale. She's lying, he whispered. I wouldn't. But I saw the guilt in his eyes, remembered the strange illnesses that plagued his brothers over the past year. Small doses, experimental ones. Jessica's teaching methods were thorough. Mom? Tyler's voice cracked. I burned the note in Alex's fancy fireplace, watching Jessica's final attempt at destruction turn to ash. We start over, I said. All of us. No more secrets, no more poison, metaphorical or otherwise. How? Ryan had returned, hovering in the doorway like a ghost. After everything I did, we rebuild, one truth at a time. I turned to Lucas, starting with what Jessica taught you. He broke down then, confessing everything. The small doses, the experiments, the way she made it seem like a game. Tyler held his younger brother while he sobbed, his own tears falling silently. Mark touched my shoulder. Alex is asking for all of us. The drive to the hospital was silent. In the ICU, Alex barely had strength to smile, but his eyes were clear. Did you find it? He whispered. In the safe? I showed him Jessica's note. She tried one last time. Always had to have the last word. His laugh turned into a cough. Ryan? Our eldest son stepped forward, tears streaming. I'm sorry, Uncle Alex. You thought you could save everyone, just like your mother. Alex's hand found mine. The real legacy isn't in the safe. It's in them, even the broken parts. His monitors began to slow. Promise me, he managed. No more revenge, only healing. I looked at my sons, Ryan's guilt, Tyler's quiet strength, Lucas's desperate need for redemption. The poisons in our family ran deeper than Jessica's chemicals, but maybe that's what made us stronger. We knew our darkness, could face it together. I promise, I whispered, but Alex was already gone. Later, standing in his empty study, I found one last note in the safe, written years ago. Family is the hardest poison to swallow, and the only antidote that matters. I left it there, locked away with the rest of our secrets. Some legacies are meant to be buried, while others, the ones written in blood and tears and forgiveness, those are the ones worth preserving, even if they leave scars, especially if they leave scars.